Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Grand Line. From a Dragon Egg to Strongest Evolution. Chapter 1. Sea Circle Calendar. In 1468, a merchant ship heading to the Grand Line was attacked by a group of pirates. A merchant couple and their children sank in Wang Yang. 2 months later. Grand Line, the ancient garden on the dinosaur island. Dark, hot, hunger, but judging from the current situation, he seems to have survived. Xian coiled around his body tightly, forcing himself to calm down. He is now in a very smooth and narrow space. Yes, this feeling is like an oval eggshell. But he was shivering at this moment, as if avoiding the pursuit of some unknown creature. Are you gone, that monster? 5 senses were confused. The vertical pupil covered by the protective film opened and lit up in the dark, full of panic. Click, cracks gradually appeared in the eggshell, followed by Xian carefully opening the eggshell on top of his head, revealing a pair of strange eyes, watching the surrounding nervously. Ha! Scared me to death. The clicks sounded one after another, and the dragon egg actually grew 2 feet, and then ran toward the bushes as if wearing a layer of eggshell armor. The speed was extremely fast, and it quickly disappeared into the original empty space. On the ground. I run, I run, I run. This strange creature ran quickly, gradually passing through the bushes and reaching the height of the cliff. With a strong leap, the moment he rushed out of the bushes, wisps of colorful Madara light shone in from outside. Oh, overlooking the huge forest at your feet, the sweet birdsong and the gurgling stream under the deep valley are in sight. There are also marshes and shallow lakes, where the air is warm and humid, and food can be found everywhere. This is a certain island of the Grand Line. Many prehistoric creatures live here. It is a paradise for ancient species and a habitat for giant beasts and dragons. At this time, in the lush forest, Xian was still looking at the beautiful scenery in a daze. Suddenly, a thunderous sound came from behind. Boom, and boom, it sounded like a giant tank of tanks is moving. The next moment, Xian's eyes widened, hiding in the eggshell and backing away, as if seeing something incredible. I saw that the bushes in front of him were quickly overwhelmed, and a huge 4-legged monster nearly 3 meters high and 7 or 8 meters tall was slowly moving towards him. Covered with yellow-green scale armor, he has an extremely strong body. The huge long tail is swaying behind him. There are 3 sharp big horns on his head and a skull like a shield. On the whole, it looks like a huge monster rhino. But Xian recognized its scientific name in an instant, that is, Triceratops. But Xian is still a little nervous. Even if it is a Triceratops, it is inevitable to eat some meat. There is no absolute vegetarian animal in this world. Most herbivores can only be vegetarian because they do not have the ability to hunt, and meat is easier to obtain. Nutrition, so most vegetarian dinosaurs will eat meat once when they have the opportunity to eat meat. E.g., the Triceratops in front of Xian's eyes changed from initial doubt to curious. At this time, it gradually walked over and became excited. It seemed that it had discovered a wild dragon egg. Right, it's dragon egg. Xian wants to scold his mother now. He is a traverser, but as a traverser, he turned into an egg at the beginning, which is simply bloody mildew. If only you can fly. And when Xian was anxious at this time, suddenly, the voice of the system rang. Insufficient conditions. Unable to meet flight status. Pre-flight requirements. Level 5 evolution. Puff. Xian almost didn't vomit blood and died. This system really doesn't do anything at all. Or, what are the conditions for evolution? In short, his instinct told him that it is better to stay away from this Triceratops now. Something is wrong, and then look at the surrounding grassland. He wakes up suddenly. When I was in a daze, the Triceratops seemed to be scared away. Scared away. Xian's pupils shrank, and suddenly, a sparse rustle came from behind him. He shrank his neck subconsciously, feeling that something seemed to be slowly approaching him behind him, and the ground was shaking slightly. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. Suddenly, Xian's body froze, and a chill came from behind instantly. He knew that there was definitely a huge creature sticking behind his back at this moment. But he dared not move. Because the beast likes to attack those enemies who run around the most, it is out of instinct to avoid being hurt. Xian chose the life-saving method at this time and dent the eggshell. At the same time, I kept praying in my heart. Don't be a carnivorous. Don't be a carnivorous. Don't be a carnivorous. After turning into a dragon egg, Xian felt that he was bitten in his mouth by some creature, but his teeth did not forcefully, instead he was walking around with his teeth in his mouth. Ruined, Xian understood in an instant that he was caught by a certain carnivorous dragon, and now it might be taken to a quiet place and then eaten himself. Such as the lair. Sure enough, Xian didn't guess wrong, he was indeed taken to a huge dragon's nest cave, but the dinosaur that brought him over did not rush to eat him, but left it somewhere. Have they gone? Xian, who was talking to himself, quietly opened the gap in the eggshell, only to find that he was in a huge incubation nest of several meters. There were several huge dragon eggs in front of him, similar to his size. Then, another cool breeze came, as if something was observing itself. Next, suck and blow. Suck, blow, asshole, eat if you want, why smell me? An angry Xian turned his head to slap the creature, and then saw clearly what was smelling him. What? Xian, who originally thought that the dinosaur who had caught him had already left, ignored that another dinosaur had been sleeping in the cave all the time. He should have thought about it, how could there be only one creature in a nest? Roar! In the dim light, the red pupils that were as huge as a lantern slowly opened, and Xian also thoroughly saw the true face of this dragon. What surprised Xian was that the terrifying monster with teeth bigger than his whole body did not attack him, but let out a low growl in dissatisfaction, as if complaining about something. Woo! A pair of vertical pupils covered by the protective film suddenly opened and lit up in the dark, looking terrifying. The strong and burly body is much larger than the Triceratops. The knotted muscles and fine scales cover the whole body, and the huge head is covered with sharp teeth. At this time, it is condescending to overlook the movement in the nest, and its identity, it is the Tyrannosaurus, one of the island's top predators. This is Tyrannosaurus. Xian swallowed and watched the monster's behavior while he was scared in his heart, but what surprised him was that the other party seemed to think of himself as its child. I am adopted by Tyrannosaurus. Suddenly, there was a clear click from behind. Xian suddenly became nervous, focused his eyes in the darkness, and then turned around cautiously. Then, he saw an eccentric big eye staring straight at him, and a little cute newborn baby Tyrannosaurus was hatched from the dragon egg about the same size as him. Roar! At this time, the female Tyrannosaurus was very excited to look at the newly born cutie, and then pushed Xian's eggshell with its short claws, indicating that he should also take off this thing quickly, and the other a small Tyrannosaurus touches. Xian quickly understood its meaning. However, if this thing on his body can be taken off, will he still be as though he is now? Take a deep breath, pretend to greet his sister, and then carry it up. Because the newly hatched Tyrannosaurus Rex is a female, Xian voluntarily substitutes himself into the identity of his brother. I have to say that he accepts this setting really fast. But as soon as he came into contact with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the sound of the system sounded again. The system has detected Tyrannosaurus Rex eggshell, the ability to replicate the form of Tyrannosaurus Rex. Will it be absorbed? Is this the plug-in renewal fee paid? Xian seemed to feel that her spring was coming, and decided to absorb it. Then, he exploded. With a bang, to be precise, the eggshell on his body was instantly broken, and then it turned into nutrients to pour into the body quickly, and at this time, Xian also completely changed its form. Dragon eggs evolved, baby Tyrannosaurus beasts. Roar! Xian's eyes widened. At this time, its hands had become sharp claws, with long slender tails, dark scales, and thin teeth, powerful jaws, and tongues in its mouth. At the same time, the system has unlocked new abilities. Meat eaterism continuously restore health when eating meat, and the recovery speed can be superimposed. Big Stomach King eating any 1 kilogram of food will permanently increase your physique HP by 1 point. Pika, you can swallow metals and ores to increase digestion speed, improve physical fitness, and get a random buff. Longway Predator Coercion, Dragon Attribute Conqueror's Hockey. This means that his current situation is not very bad. Rustle. Suddenly there was a slight crawling sound from behind, and Xian was constantly licked by a wet tongue, causing him to hide in a hurry. Wow! The little female Tyrannosaurus Rex looked at Xian very playfully, seeming to regard him as her own relatives. At this time, the evil dragon rushed in and pressed Xian all of a sudden, and then opened her mouth to bite. Although it doesn't hurt, it's very uncomfortable. Xian slowly moved his hind limbs, suddenly turned over, pressed her under her body, and then gave a low growl to warn her not to mess around. And the other side, the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex watched the battle between these two little guys and quickly realized something. With a boom, shaking, a huge piece of meat fell in front of Xian and the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Quote exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark quote. At the same time, the two little guys stopped the fight immediately, rushed towards the big piece of meat, bite down suddenly, and swallowed. Crunchy. While eating, Xian felt his bones crackling, and then his muscles became hot, and he felt an indescribable sense of strength. At the same time, he felt that he had grown taller. I see. This is triggered by the passive skill effects of carnivorism and Big Stomach King because Xian is now in a healthy and full health state. When the health is overflowed, it will increase the upper limit of health, and the size will also change accordingly. Because Xian is now reenacting the Tyrannosaurus gene, all abilities are biased towards predators. 1 meter, 1 meter 1, 1 meter 2. Body shape is growing. At this time, the adult Tyrannosaurus Rex was a little dazed. It knew that its child had grown very fast in the early stage, but it hadn't grown at such a speed that was visible to the naked eye, and it was a little frightened. So, it slowly got up from the ground, tilted its head, and stared at Xian curiously as if it had discovered a new species. Guru. After eating the last bite of meat, Xian seemed to realize that he was growing too fast, so he converged a little and sat on the ground with a full burp. The other side, the sister, who was eaten by Xian most of the food and didn't have to eat, started crying, which also reminded the adult Tyrannosaurus to prey on more food as soon as possible to feed the two children in the family. Fortunately, at this time, the male adult Tyrannosaurus Rex, who was out hunting, brought back fresh prey. Suddenly, Xian also fought with his Tyrannosaurus sister because of food grabs, but Xian is too strong and always eats the food first, resulting in little sister's share of food. Fortunately, Xian would always leave some food to fill that poor little guy. After all, it would be inhumane to live in someone's dragon's nest and eat up the children's food. Soon, 2 days passed. Xian has also grown into a Tyrannosaurus close to 2 meters long, and his sister is only a poor 1.2 meters long. Of course, this is not malnutrition, but normal development, but Xian's growth rate is too exaggerated. At the same time, due to the food brought by the adult Tyrannosaurus and he couldn't satisfy Xian, he decided to go hunting by himself and start a small stove for himself. Certainly, what makes Xian annoyed is that his sister, this female juvenile Tyrannosaurus Rex, has been trailing behind him, wherever he goes, seeming to treat him as his only playmate. No, I have to let this little guy go away. If this goes on, I will be hungry sooner or later. Xian didn't want this little Tyrannosaurus to follow him. This would affect his hunting efficiency. It was not because she was afraid that she would snatch her food to eat, but because she was afraid that she would scare the prey and cause the food to escape. But a pity, no matter what he does, this sister will follow him inseparably, and she can't deceive them, because the two have almost no language communication, relying on physical movements and yelling. Forget it, just let her follow. When she can't catch the prey, she will naturally leave. Thinking about it, Xian began to observe the surrounding environment. He came near the beach, surrounded by yellow-green large real ferns that looked like banana leaves, and many scattered palm trees. The densely vegetated areas were actually jungles, but the jungles had many giant insects. And trap hunters. There are also crocodiles, snapping turtles, titan pythons and other creatures. On the beach, mosasaur is very common, but mosasaur in this world is not so much a mosasaur as it is sea kings. Xian said inwardly, if there is a chance to hunt a sea kings, it will definitely be a good one. Of course, he can only think about it now. If he really meets sea kings, he will definitely be eaten. Tyrannosaurus Rex hunting and activities are mainly in plains and canyons, so deep jungles, marshes, deep seas and lakes are dangerous areas that Xian dare not go to for the time being, and the safest place is definitely the edge of the beach, because the deeper you go to the inner island, the more complex the creatures become, and the carnivores are also in groups. So Xian, who sneaked out, took his Tyrannosaurus sister, and came to the beach at this time. Rustle. As soon as he arrived here, Xian noticed the sound of blades shaking nearby, and he instantly became alert, which showed that there was a creature nearby. Next moment, nearly 1 meter tall, with gray-blue feathers and huge sharp-beaked birds appeared in front of him. The guy looked like an ostrich, but he was very fat, silly, and looked stupid. Dodo. Before the surprised Xian had time to act, he suddenly saw a black figure around him jumping forward, biting the dodo's neck, and crushing it on the ground mercilessly, locking his throat to death. Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. Xian discovered that the guy who killed the dodo was the sister he thought was a cumbersome. What the hell? Why is she so fierce? At this time, the Tyrannosaurus Rex held the corpse of the dodo in front of Xian, and looked at Xian with his big round eyes, as if he was the boss. Only if Xian took the first bite, she could take a second bite. It seems, I misunderstood you. Xian felt that the Tyrannosaurus was the real predator, and seemed very surprised, but quickly calmed down. Good job. Hina. My sister's name is Hina. Because Xian thought it was a little weird to call her little guy all the time, so he named the little female dragon Xena. After speaking, he walked towards the fruit-grown plant. As for the dodo, he was temporarily excluded. The little mother tyrant dragon Xena tilted her head and looked at Xian, not understanding what he was doing. Soon, when Xian picked up all the green oval fruits like mangoes and placed them near a huge boulder, they stepped back quietly. Hina, hide, the prey is about to be hooked. Under the guidance of Xian, Hina also wisely hid in the grass, showing a pair of big eyes looking at the place full of fruits. After a few minutes, the nearby dodos seemed to find that their food had been stolen. They suddenly screamed angrily. Then they were walking and suddenly found a large pile of wild fruits lying in front of the pile of rocks. Eat special. In other words, how did the dodo become extinct? Maybe it's stupid. Of course, most animals cannot be as smart as humans. At this time, Xian let out a low roar, and Hina on the other side also roared with the howling dragon. 2 Tyrannosaurus Rexes outflanked the stone in front of the stone. Dodos. Suddenly the frightened dodo birds began to flee, and Xian shouted, "Stop them," and rushed up first, killing them. Can you escape? Suddenly, after killing several dodo birds in one bite, Xian suddenly heard a voice in his mind. New skills Predatory Instinct and Hunting Perception are unlocked. Predatory Instinct. Unlock the Predatory Instinct. When attacking the vitality of the prey, increase the critical strike damage by 600%. Hunting Perception. Unlock Hunting Perception. You can perceive nearby enemies, and greatly increase the alertness of the 5 senses. Xian froze for a moment. Is this about to evolve? Next moment, he began to check his attributes. It is currently level 1 Tyrannosaurus. Experience, 200 points. Health, 305. Weight, 250 kg. Sure enough, the experience value increased rapidly, and it was only 2 mouthfuls away from evolving to a level 2 Tyrannosaurus. And he looked at his sister Hina curiously at this time, and her attributes were also revealed in front of him. Juvenile female Tyrannosaurus Rex, level 1. Health, 97. Weight, 90 kg. Although the level is the same, the attributes are quite different. However, everything has to be done step by step. Generally speaking, weight and strength are directly proportional, and no one can eat fat in one bite. That's all. Time passed in a hurry, and it was 3 years in the blink of an eye. In 1471, Grand Line, Dinosaur Island. The earth shook violently, and the Protoceratops ran in the direction of the canyon in horror. Behind them, a vigorous Tyrannosaurus roared and drove them unhurriedly, rushing towards the canyon. Go! At the same time, just as the Protoceratops were driven into the canyon, there was a sound of rolling rocks above the high cliffs, and the rumbling boulders crazily smashed towards the dragons, killing several Protoceratops in an instant. Roar! Suddenly, when the Protoceratops were preparing to retreat back the same way, a huge foot suddenly fell heavily on the ground. The burly and huge body copied from the back bread blocked them. This Tyrannosaurus was better than before. The head is taller and stronger, the horny skin is shiny and black, and the strong muscles give people a feeling of strength. Hina, the dark Tyrannosaurus monster suddenly smashed and tore the rock blocking it with its tyrannical body at this time, and roared at the Tyrannosaurus on the high cliff, and then a light-skinned female Tyrannosaurus slid down the hillside next. It broke into the original horned dragon group like a killing machine, the blood basin opened wide, and the hunting was carried out ruthlessly. Ah! the Protoceratops fleeing out of the canyon in horror, but the huge black dragon-shaped creature blocked the exit. As it swings its strong and powerful tail, it makes a resounding sonic boom, rumbling in an instant. The rock began to collapse, and the exit was heavily blocked, and then the black dragon raised its head and roared, resounding throughout the canyon. "Okay, Hina, stop, don't kill them all." This talking black dragon Shien stopped the female Tyrannosaurus rex in the gluttonous feast in the dragon group at this time, and said that these Protoceratops are their domestic animals, and will raise and protect them in the future. No need to go out hunting anymore. Roar. Xena licked the corners of her blood-stained mouth. At this time, she looked at the canyon with her beautiful eyes and ran over happily, hugging Shien affectionately. Don't know if you don't compare. When Hina arrived in front of Shien, she knew how huge the gap between the two was. Xena of the pure-blooded Tyrannosaurus is only 15 meters long and about 6 meters tall. However, Shien is 12.8 meters tall and 34 meters long. It is a complete super monster. Those Protoceratops are just like chicks in front of it. Certainly, Hina didn't know that the brother in front of him was actually not a Tyrannosaurus at all. No one knew what kind of dragon it was. On the contrary, as the age grew, Shien's back bulged two muscle tissues, like things like the dorsal fin, are becoming more and more obvious. Even Shien himself does not know exactly what kind of dragon he is. But what is certain is that it is just not a so-called dinosaur. Shien. Growth period. Height, 12.8 meters. Body length, 34 meters. Weight, 76 tons. Race, level 4 Tyrannosaurus form. The answer given by the system is nothing, but it can be anything. Shien was originally in the form of a dragon egg. As for the later evolution, it depends on his own choice. For example, he first came into contact with the Tyrannosaurus rex egg, so he absorbed the Tyrannosaurus rex gene, and now it looks like a Tyrannosaurus rex. But if the first contact is a toothless pterosaur, then he may look like a toothless pterosaur. In other words, the shape of Shien's evolution in the future is not fixed, but at least, he is quite satisfied with his current shape now, and he is already a king-level dragon on this island. Boom, boom. The body of the pitch-black Tyrannosaurus slowly turned, and the channel of the canyon could no longer accommodate its size. With the powerful tail swinging, the pile of rocks was swept and collapsed in an instant, and it also took the lead to leave here. A Tyrannosaurus followed closely. Hina, you stay here to watch them, I'm just walking around by myself. After the pitch-black Tyrannosaurus expressed his thoughts, he grabbed a few Protoceratops corpses and walked towards the dragon's nest to deliver food to his adoptive parents, the pair of old Tyrannosaurus rex. Immediately afterwards, when the food was delivered, Shien climbed to the highest point of the cliff alone. After crossing the swamp, the crocodiles and the Titan pythons all retreated in horror. The snapping turtles, who were usually fearless did not dare to attack rashly, because Shien's the soles of a foot or several meters wide, and can be comparable to this size, only those giant herbivorous dinosaurs, but they are not rivals at all. Gradually, after climbing to the highest cliff, Shien looked at the pterosaurs lingering around him. Shien raised his hair and let out a huge roar, then turned to look aside his secret base. It is not so much a secret base as a cave. Because the cave was filled with the breath of Shien, a top predator, no other creatures dared to approach it, and the contents in it were also well preserved, the most important of which was an iron box. Precisely. That is the treasure chest, the favorite treasure chest of pirates and treasure hunters. Certainly, there is no so-called pure gold and silver, and there are no treasures, but a pile of yellowed newspapers, and it can be seen that some past events are faintly written on it. Grand Line News Express. Issue 271. The village of Elbaf in the Kingdom of Giants was destroyed. Fierce fighting resulted in many deaths. The principal offender was a 5-year-old girl who was suspected of having intermittent violent episodes. After destroying the village of Elbaf, there was no relevant memory at all. Issue 287. After a year, the girl who destroyed the village of Elbaf, the country of giants, accidentally killed Jorel, the giant hero Waterfall Beard, when she was 6 years old. Giants all over the world hate her for this, and the name Charlotte Linlin is also so. It is deeply rooted in the hearts of the people. Issue. In 1468, a merchant ship heading for the Grand Line was attacked by a group of pirates. A merchant couple and their 2-year-old son sank Wang Yangjong. According to the investigation, some of the mechanics and guards in the merchant ship survived the killing, but were arrested by Marine on charges of colluding with pirates and are now in prison. Yes, these are the newspapers that Xian has accumulated over the years. Through newspapers, Xian has been trying to understand the outside world, and he is also deeply aware that he is in the world of One Piece. Speaking of, the life experience of Xian has not been introduced yet. Xian was originally named Lien. He traveled to the world as early as 5 years ago and became the child of a businessman couple. Originally, Xian thought he might become a rich second generation, do business with the world government, and then climb celestial. The relationship between dragons has taken off and made a fortune all the way, looking for a few beautiful women to be wives, so that they can live a life in peace and stability. But he was wrong. He was wrong, because he underestimated the greed of humans. Because of peeping at his parents' property, the former crew and guards colluded with a pirate group to set a trap, resulting in the sacrifice of dozens of people on and off the merchant ship, and he fell into the sea. When I wake up again, Xian found that he had become a dragon egg, with a dark but full of strange patterns around him, and he seemed to be bitten by the hungry. After that, Xian was horrified to find that he could no longer touch the sea, because once he touched the sea, he would become weak and limp, which made him very scared. Certainly, at that time, Xian had realized that he might have eaten the devil fruit, unknown to Zone in a hungry state. The system said it was a dragon egg fruit, with evolutionary characteristics. Xian was also suspicious here. The island is alive carefully, relying on gathering berries for a living. Fortunately, the eggshell can protect his safety and keep himself hidden inside. But, after being picked up by a female Tyrannosaurus for adoption, she met Hina, a childhood sweetheart and younger sister, and Xian, who had absorbed the Tyrannosaurus gene, could no longer restore her original, human, form. Precisely. Because of the lack of security, human beings do not have fangs and claws. They are easily attacked, coupled with the low level of development of devil fruit, resulting in Xian reluctant to change back to a human posture, not to mention that he has become accustomed to this the way of life of giant beasts. It will be very difficult to adapt to the human form. Fencing, he will not. Boxing, he will not. Human beings almost only know how to fight freely, but in the state of a dragon, as long as they don't fall into the sea, Xian is the sole overlord of this island. But, today, Xian does not intend to escape all the time, because the recent newspapers made him discover that the pirates who made him like this are still alive, so Xian intends to go to sea for revenge. But the problem is, in his current form, he is too big and can't fly. How to go to sea has become a problem. Shipbuilding has become the only option for Xian. But without a navigator and record pointer, it is difficult to find the right direction on the sea. Moreover, Xian is very hungry. He needs a period of storage and builds a strong enough ship to let himself smoothly leave this piece of island entangled by the storm. Yes, Dinosaur Island, like Skull Island, are hidden islands entangled by mysterious storms. Few people will pass by on the Grand Line. They have waited for at least a few years without seeing any ships. However, the effort pays off. When Xian waited for another year, a pirate group full of Western cowboy flavor and origin from West Blue entered the Grand Line. When fighting with the rival pirate group, it accidentally broke into this storm area. With the roar of artillery fire on the sea, Xian's attention was instantly caught. It's a pirate. Immediately after running to a high place, Xian saw clearly that a pirate group was parked near the beach. Look carefully. The pirate banner is a skull with horns. The bow is shaped like a bull skull. There are about a dozen people on board. Many of them are injured. A guy who looks like the head of a country's guards. Work with others to bandage the wounded and help each other. Brooke, search for supplies, I will take care of them. Okay, Captain Ban Biao. A tall and thin man with an exploded head raised his head at this time, blocking the scorching sun with his hands, and began to look around this very old-looking island. It looks like an uninhabited island, so lucky, yo-ho-ho-ho. Immediately afterwards, Brooke put on the rapier and decided to explore the ancient forest in front of him and obtain some life-saving medicine and food for the crew. The other side, Xian's gaze retracted from the gang of pirates and fell on his own body. As the ground vibrated slightly, the majestic behemoth body slowly stood up, and countless birds and pterosaurs were frightened and fled in all directions. The sharp teeth and claws that exuded cold light slowly opened at this time, and then slowly contracted following the horror of the muscles. For the first time, Xian has transformed into a human form. His height of 9 meters 8 is obviously a burly giant sweat. At the same time, he also has an incredible majestic appearance and a strong sense of oppression. Hockey that makes mortals afraid of presumptuous. Between Xian's eyebrows, there are 2 bulges like dragon's horns, with dark hair draped over his shoulders. Underneath his burly and muscular body, there are sturdy dragon claws that are not like humans, arranged with large and small bony scales. Ta ta ta. He walked towards the foot of the mountain step by step, his feet trembling slightly on the ground. Outside of the nearby icy rock, the beetle about half a meter slowly moved its hind limbs and began to retreat. The carnivorous lizards nearby also felt tremendous pressure, even if it was transformed. He took the form of a human, but Xian's Haki, who belonged to the Tyrannosaurus king, spread out without any reduction. At this time, Brooke looked at the surrounding forest environment in surprise. Many unfamiliar vines and plants and huge insects made him feel uneasy, so he clenched the weapon in his hand. He has served as the captain of the guard and the acting captain, so he has a considerable degree of strength, is good at fencing, and is a very powerful swordsman among humans. However, there are many oddities in this world, and there are unexpected threats in many places. Even Brooke has become vigilant. Herbs. There must be some healing herbs in such a big place, but there are so many kinds of plants that I don't know many of them. Brooke looked for herbs in the nearby bushes, and then picked some berries and walked while eating. But suddenly, as if he felt some threat, he drew his sword abruptly, turned and looked behind him. Raptor. Brooke's eyes widened and saw a group of small dinosaurs chirping through the jungle, and suddenly realized that the island might have been isolated from the world for a long time. Fortunately, it's just a velociraptor, but if you encounter any monsters, it's not good. That's right. Brooke nodded in agreement, but then took a breath of cold air and looked back suddenly. An extremely tall figure stood in front of him, staring at him condescendingly. Thin body. Sir, did I break into your sight by mistake? Brooke raised his head and looked at the exposed strong abdominal muscles, the shoulders covered with dragon scales and the broad body, and his eyes met the man's wild and animal golden eyes. Hello, intruder, my name is Xian. It was a burly man like a dragon reflected in Brooke's eyes. To be precise, this man is not only burly and tall, his muscles are strong, but his personality must also be particularly bold and unrestrained, because he is not wearing clothes, walking naked in this virgin forest. If it is not a lunatic, it is the owner of this island. Calm down, be calm. Brooke is worthy of being the head of the kingdom's guard. He silently warned himself not to irritate the person in front of him. Now the Rumba Pirates group he belongs to has already been severely damaged. If something goes wrong in this situation, that must be worse. So Brooke took a deep breath, then smiled and said, "My man Brooke, the deputy captain of the Rumba Pirates, has no intention of offending Mr. Please forgive me." Tisk. Xian hasn't communicated with humans for a long time. At this time, looking down at Brooke, her sharp eyes seemed to make him see through. Take it here. Huh, what? Brooke said, looked at the sword in his hand, hesitated, and handed it over. Be careful, it's very sharp. Yes. Xian snatched Brooke's weapon, glanced at him, and then stared at the rapier. Brooke's sword, in front of Xian's burly height, looks as small as a toothpick, and it is very good for picking teeth. However, Xian looked at it for a while and said, I gave it permission. You can land on the island and collect life materials freely. Grateful. Brooke raised his head in surprise, and the gentleman bowed to express his gratitude. But, Xian showed a hairy smile at this moment. He said, I have one condition. If you refuse, I will kill you all and throw it into the sea. What conditions? Brooke was terribly scared. Now that his weapon has been confiscated, he is really helpless to fight back. The condition is, let me become a member of your pirate group, of course, temporarily. Oh, it turned out to be like this. Brooke stayed on the spot for a few seconds, and then suddenly laughed, yo-ho-ho-ho-ho, and said in a clear voice, I was scared to death. I thought you wanted to ask if there is a lady on our boat. The answer is no. Yo-ho-ho-ho-ho. Sorry, this joke is not funny at all. Although Brooke is a gentleman, he is sometimes too old-fashioned. However, Chien didn't respond to his cold joke, so Brooke didn't dare to make a joke anymore, but took him to see his captain and others. Rumba Pirates, by the campfire. As night falls, the dim dinosaur island can also see the bright moon and stars, and the air here is more comfortable than other places, and there are not so many mosquitoes flying on the edge of the beach at night, but occasionally a few dodo birds are sneaking around. When they ran nearby to pick fruits and eat them, these birds were simple and stupid, a bit like stupid chickens in other places. However, it is undeniable. There is a devil fruit in the form of dodo in this world, but I don't know that the hanbon will eat this kind of fruit. Generally speaking, the person who eats it doesn't have a brain problem, it is forced. That being said, someday in the future, Chien will actually meet a capable person in the form of a dodo, but this will be the story many years in the future. Come back. If the Rumba Pirates didn't die halfway, they would definitely be at the Four Emperors Pirates level after 50 years. At present, the fighting power of this group is not too weak. The average dinosaurs are completely not an opponent. That's right, Mr. Chien, thank you very much for taking us in at this critical moment. If it weren't for your generosity, we might die outside. As the captain, I am very grateful to you, Mr. Chien. If you really want to join our pirate group, please accept my thanks. The captain of Brooke's pirate group, nicknamed Madara Biao Yankee, is a man of true temperament, who is very kind, and even kneels to express his gratitude at this time. No need to thank me. Chien also had his own purpose, and he took out a newspaper from his collection, handed it to Brooke and others, and asked, "Do you know this pirate group?" "This is." Brooke looked at the flag of the pirate group, then his eyes widened, as if seeing something angry. "Captain, it's them." Immediately afterwards, after Brooke's Captain Madara Biao took the newspaper, he glanced at the newspaper, his expression turned cold, and said solemnly, "They are members of the Plague Pirate Group. They specialize in burning, killing, looting, and robbery at sea. To be honest, they are the guys who forced us into this sea this time." What a coincidence. But it's right to think about it. The place where the merchant ship Chien was in was killed in the nearby waters. After a few years, it is normal for the pirate group to do some robbery in the nearby waters. Rather say, they took this sea area as their own territory, and Brooke's Lombard pirates and the merchant ships they used to stay in were not allowed to enter this sea area before they were attacked. Thinking about it this way, it is not impossible to find them and kill them all. Very good. Another condition for me to join your pirate group is to kill all of this pirate group, not leaving one. Don't worry, Mr. Chien, needless to say, we will take revenge sooner or later. Having said that, after the Battle of the Rumba Pirates in the original book, all members except Brooke died of the plague. Come on, finish this glass of wine. Good. The huge wine glass collided with other people in Chien's hands, and then he lifted his neck and drank it. Suddenly, his strong and burly muscles began to become slightly hot, as if some steam came out of his skin. Trigger passive. Immune to alcohol. Alcohol is not a good thing for cells, so when it is drunk into the stomach, it is directly squeezed out of the body, so that Chien can't get drunk anyhow. It seems that I can't experience the pleasure of being drunk. NS. Speaking of which, Mr. Chien, you should listen to this story. Brooke, do you think Laboon will wait for us? Laboon. Yeah, Laboon. When we were in West Blue, we met a little whale. It was bullied by various beasts at sea until one day, it met us who was singing. After that, the little whale kept going. Following us, it is always so happy and safe. However, when we decided to come to Grand Line, we had to leave it near Upside Down Mountain, because Grand Line is too dangerous. Don't be sad, Brooke, we will see each other when we go around the world and come back again. The name Laboon. It's kind of familiar. Suddenly, Chien thought of a giant island whale in the original work, Laboon, which originated from West Blue and is the largest island whale in the world. Yo, Brooke, sing a song. Captain Madara Biao noticed the surrounding atmosphere and leaned forward with a grin, rubbed Brooke's explosive head, and said, "How about Bink's wine?" I like this. The other members of the pirate group cheered. Yo-ho-hoo-ho-hoo, 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 yo-ho-hoo-ho-hoo. Benefits from the guests: good wine, facing the wind, rain and huge waves. My favorite flag is flying under the clear sky. In the chorus of the rumba pirates, there are players playing the violin, accompaniment, and humming to the tone. When Xian heard this song for the first time, it felt very ordinary. But now, he felt a simple and magical voice, and his thoughts were full of thoughts. After experiencing so many things, he was not only immersed in the singing. If you don't dislike it, let's sail happily with us. At this point, Brooke's iconic laughter sounded. His voice is very contagious. At this time, he comforted Xian not to keep his face all the time, and began to take the initiative to hold his hands and clap his hands in accordance with the rhythm. Bring Binks wine to you. Others were singing, playing and singing, the entire huge bonfire was blazing, and everyone's emotions were very high. This joyous atmosphere was something Xian had never felt before. He gradually fell in love with the free life of this pirate and made his determination to go out to sea even stronger. Roar-ang! At this time, a loud Tyrannosaurus roar abruptly sounded behind the campfire camp established by the Lombard pirates near the beach, instantly making the entire pirates nervous and immediately entering a state of alert fighting. Sit down. Xian shook slightly, then reacted, raised his head to look at Brooke and the captain and others, and said, I will introduce you to. At this time, behind Xian came the sound of shaking mountains, followed by the eyes of a female Tyrannosaurus opened completely in the dark, staring straight here, like a calm huntress, curious staring at this group of humans, approaching step by step. Mr. Xian, you behind you. A group of pirates all pointed behind Xian in horror, as if some terrifying monster was looking down at him. Don't worry, she belongs to me. Xian smiled slightly, not worrying about his safety at all. When he knew that his entire upper body was swallowed by the huge mouth of the blood basin, the voice stopped abruptly. If it weren't for Xian's burly and tall body, he would almost be swallowed in one bite. But even so, Hina bit his upper body until she bit into her mouth, and she found out who this familiar smell was. Suddenly, Hina spit out the man, backing a few steps, her eyes filled. It was horrified and unbelievable. Why? Xian was half kneeling on the ground at this time, his body was already wet with Xena's saliva, he turned his head back a little heartbroken, and said, 3 years. Since childhood, I have been in bed for 3 years, I still don't remember my smell. Hina, brother is disappointed in you. Ooh, I am not, I don't. At the same time, Hina looked at Xian with an expression of overwhelming shock, her big bright eyes filled with disbelief, as if she was saying, why do you become a two-legged beast? You are not a brother, what are you? Who is it? Come here, Hina, give brother a hug. After hearing the familiar voice, Xena hesitated for a moment, and slowly moved closer to her. After all, although her appearance had changed, her breath and voice were the Xian she was familiar with. Only, even in human form, Xian is much taller than his sister. Her sister is 6 meters tall. When Xian stood up at this time, it was already close to 10 meters. It's better to say that the size of Sister Hina is more suitable for a mount, but the idea of riding your own sister is too bad. But in fact, the relationship between Xian and Hina is more like a childhood sweetheart, because they grow up together at the same age, but the mentality is different, so the age difference can be reflected. Come out, don't hide. Xian turned his head. The members of the Rumba Pirates group showed their heads one by one from the back corner of the camp, and sighed with relief. I was scared to death. I thought this Tyrannosaurus Rex wanted to eat us. Yeah, Mr. Xian is really amazing. He contained such a fierce dinosaur, but you just seemed to call it. Did I hear it wrong? Sister. Any questions? Xian said without looking back. Do you think she is not qualified to be my sister? Or do you think I'm just talking crazy? No, I'm just a little surprised that humans actually made friends with the dragons. Just like us in Laboon. Before Captain Madara Biao finished speaking, Xian interrupted him again. You are wrong. The sister I mean is literally, not what you think. But you are obviously, human. Who told you that I am a pure human being? Just after speaking, the earth shook suddenly. A sudden and terrifying roar resounded through the night sky, tearing the earth apart, reverberating between coastal hurricanes and raging waves, and the entire beach seemed to be shaking violently. Roar! The dull thunderous roar resounded, and there was a violent tremor from the depths of the sky. It was like a powerful heart beating like crazy. The members of the Rumba Pirates who were on the sidelines were horrified, while Hina seemed to have expected it, with a frenzy. The earth was suddenly startled. The figure of a behemoth carrying a majestic power rushed out of the shackles, and appeared in front of them. That is Xian's dragon form. The scales on the body like the Tyrannosaurus are small and dense, and the exposed hard bones extend from the head to the tail behind, like short spines. In addition to the strong offensive power of the tough big tail, the most important thing is to balance left and right. The sharp teeth and terrifying huge mouth make people shudder, possessing terrifying bite strength and hardness that other Tyrannosaurus does not possess. Its saliva is highly corrosive and accelerates eating and digestion. Because the muscles are all over the body will collide with crazy congestion in the process of rage and fighting. The thicker nail skin will prop up the blood vessels to cool down. The parts that have been injured will tear and emit a deeper red blood light. In a state of anger, any pain will stimulate its aggressiveness to greatly increase, becoming extremely violent and destroying the enemy. These characteristics are all a bit like the Tyrannosaurus in Monster Hunter, the gluttonous king of horror. Of course, this is only part of the evolution. The scale armor is a passive skill, skin hardening, the exposed hard bones are a passive skill, temperature measurement, dorsal fin, saliva is a passive skill, strong acid digestion, and muscle congestion is a passive skill, blood fury greatly improved, attack power, the crimson light emitted when injured is a passive skill, super self-healing activates cells when injured and greatly improves the healing effect. It can be said, at present, Xian has very high skill points in the Crazy Fight Warrior and Damage Increased series, and not much skill points in the General Hockey Coercion and Multifunction skills. Because Xian is currently following the growth path of horrific abuse and killing, once the killing intent is committed, it will not give the enemy a chance to breathe. Therefore, the more courageous the war, the more ruthless the war is his personality. At this time, Xian's vision was extremely sharp, and the dragon's vertical pupils were like a burning flame nebula in the dark, as if to see through everyone present. Its unfolding huge body slowly approached the members of the Rumba pirate group. Under such terrible shocking pressure, everyone involuntarily backed up, and each of them showed instinctive fear on their faces. Sneer, ha 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 ha. Suddenly, Xian laughed wildly, and then returned to a human form, smiling very arrogantly and happily. Reintroduce myself, my name is Xian, dragon fruit Tyrannosaurus form capable person. Certainly, dragon egg fruit, which sounds very special, can't be said, so Xian lied that he was in the form of Tyrannosaurus. Tyrannosaurus and Tyrannosaurus Rex mean the same thing, so that others would not doubt him. Scared me to death. Brooke laughed first. Yo-ho-ho-ho-ho, I almost thought I was going to be eaten. Ah, I am too thin. Mr. Xian should not like to eat thin people. I don't eat people. Xian shook his head, and when the Rumba pirates were relieved, they suddenly said, but Hina might eat it. My sister is a pure-blooded Tyrannosaurus, not demon fruit power. Finished. The others looked at Hina's sharp and clean teeth, and suddenly felt a chill. That is to say, if Mr. Xian is going to see, your sister Ms. Hina will also follow, right? Captain Madara Biao nodded at this time, looked at his ship, and felt it was time to expand. When will I? Before Xian had time to explain, the others started booing. With Mr. Xian here, we will definitely be able to break through the Devil's Triangle this time, and then go all the way to the legendary the Fishmen Island. Ah, the beautiful mermaid ladies, after waiting for the Fishmen Island, we then go to New World and complete the world voyage for a week ahead of the others. At that time, we will be One Piece. Wrong, the One Piece is me, haha. At this time Roger was just a rookie pirate. No, it should be said whether Roger became a pirate or not is still a question. That's right. Welcome Miss Hina to join our pirates, take out all the wine tonight, have a good time. Oh. In this way, seeing Xian of the Rumba pirates for the first time opened his journey of great voyage. In this era when everyone has the opportunity to become the One Piece King, the king of the tyrannical Dragon Kun, who has made future generations frightened and talked about, took his sister Hina on the journey. In 1473, the Rumba pirates stayed on Dinosaur Island for about 4 months, and finally they were about to go to sea. During this time, Xian didn't want Hina to follow him to the Grand Line to try her luck, because Xian knew how terrifying the Grand Line was. Some pirates' hockey were invincible, and armament hockey per capita, as a member of the Dragon Clan, could bully ordinary humans. But it's not enough to face real masters. Shien said that some great swordsmen can slash a warship away, while the luxury class warships are much larger than the largest dinosaurs. They are all made of steel and cannot withstand a single cut. But Hina said she was not afraid. If Shien didn't take her away, she would just swim there. Alright, Shien had to compromise, because if Hina really planned to swim over, it would be dangerous. She is not a whale laboon, and the sea is full of sea kings, which can be easily eaten, but considering Hina's size as very small, she is not unable to get on the boat. It is quite ordinary for Shien's height meter. This height is only a little higher than the future Bigmom, which is similar to the future Kaido. If Hina is forced to follow, she must increase her combat effectiveness, and the most effective way is devil fruit. In addition, Hina also hates seawater, so devil fruit is the best choice. Therefore, Shien is considering giving Hina a devil fruit. Logia is definitely the best choice. Paramesha is the next best thing, Zone. But, if you encounter Zone's Eudemons, or the human form, you can still consider it. And also, don't underestimate the inherent advantages of the Dragon Clan. The Murlocs have a strong sense of superiority when their wrist strength is 10 times stronger than that of humans. As a Tyrannosaurus clan, their inherent advantages are much stronger than humans. The advantages of human beings are reflected in their minds and savvy. In terms of combat effectiveness, the dragons can crush most biological races under the same training intensity. Even Shien can proudly say to others, the one in front of you is an ancient race from hundreds of 10,000 years. In contrast, Hina is only 5 years old this year, so she can kill a Diplodocus that is more than 30 meters long and weighs about 10 tons. What were the others doing when they were 5 years old? I'm afraid I haven't learned how to fight. Except for Charlotte Linlin, she is a monster. And also, for reference, in the future, so many people in Beasts Pirates will be capable of ancient dinosaur forms, such as the toothless pterosaur of Blaze Cinder, the Brachiosaurus of Plague Quinn, and Jack the Drow are just mammoths. Hina is pure blood. This kind of Tyrannosaurus Rex, if trained effectively, or even learned armament hockey, Shien feels that she will never be weaker than the so-called ancient demon fruit power. Hina's parents, the adoptive parents of the old Tyrannosaurus, are in fact middle-aged. The lifespan is still very long. In one sentence, humans don't worry about the lifespan of other dinosaurs. Maybe when you die, they will not be adults. On average, dinosaurs can live to at least 100 to 200 years old. If there are no diseases and injuries, a healthy and strong Tyrannosaurus can live to 300 to 500 years old. If the individual is particularly strong, it can even be longer. There seems to be a 1,000-year dragon in this world, and real dragons also exist, and their lifespan is usually ridiculously high. But perhaps it is because of the overpowering talent that caused the Dragon Clan to gradually decline. There are only a few places in the existing Dragon Clan in the world, such as Prehistoric Island, Little Garden, Ancient Garden, Dinosaur Island, Skull Island, Calm Belt, and so on. Dinosaurs still exist in these areas. Start sailing. Looking at the beasts on the island, many predators raised their heads to congratulate the island overlord to leave. Brook and the Rumba pirates couldn't help crying. But, only Shien knows that those dinosaurs are not sad for their departure, but feel ecstatic. This bully has finally gone, and now they finally don't have to worry about living their lives. Alas, the world is very cold, and now even the dinosaurs have become shrewd. 3 days later, Grand Line, near the sea area of the Devil's Triangle. Hey, Hina, don't be afraid, it's safe now. Shien gently stroked the neck of the female Tyrannosaurus in front of him at this time. She was like a shivering cat, and her look of fear was a bit unspeakably cute. Brook, go see if that Sea Kings has caught up. Okay. Brook climbed up the mast smoothly, and then through the binoculars, he clearly saw at least 2 large Sea Kings, each of which was 10 stories high, several times larger than Shien's dragon form. At least 2 of them are still in hot pursuit, please be careful. Brook also quickly notified the news. Those Sea Kings, didn't they just steal their 2 cubs? As for the chase, Sea Kings reproduce much faster than dragons, hundreds of babies a year, no wonder be able to become the master of this sea. Hearing Shien's complaint, the other pirates were speechless. No matter how able to give birth to Sea Kings, but you are the one who snatches and eats their children. That's not what you said when you stole their cubs. But Shien's bad luck is their bad luck. Now they are all tied to the same boat. Don't despise anyone. It's a big deal to die together. Run, although you are a little embarrassed, but sea kings still can't afford it. Even Shi-en feels that he is very strong, but seeing that huge body as stalwart as a mountain will still give rise to the idea that, sure enough, sea kings are the real sea overlords. Even if he can fight sea kings one-on-one, it's not worth it in this situation. Okay, Hina, you are a Tyrannosaurus. Can you be more courageous? But the Tyrannosaurus Rex is only the overlord on the land, but it can still be the target of bullying when it runs on the territory of other people's sea kings. However, just as Shi-en comforted Hina, everyone looked at the sea kings in the distance and gave up chasing. When they were relieved, they suddenly raised their hearts to their throats because of the vibration of the ship. What's the situation? A pirate immediately went to investigate whether it had hit a reef, but it was a deep sea area. What? The pirate who saw the movement under the sea suddenly screamed in horror. Following Shi-en's gaze, a blue eyeball larger than the hull suddenly opened, just staring at the Rumba pirates. Ship. Ah! Suddenly a long, penetrating roar sounded. Everyone on the ship, including Shi-en, burst through their eardrums. Run away. Can you escape? Hold on to the hull, it's going to be swallowed. Some of the people whose eardrums were pierced by the sound even started to have a concussion. At this time, covering their ears, Chichao rolled on the deck with blood. Some people even went crazy when they saw this monster, as if they had seen Cthulhu. So, what exactly is this monster? Just as Shi-en was also panicked, the sound of the system suddenly sounded. System prompt. New discovery. Legendary creature island-eating monster. Hunting rewards. Dragon roar, super gastric juice, gluttonous blood, gluttony and viciousness, tough muscles. Island eater. Wait, could it be said that it is the monster that smashes shit bigger than the island? In the cowhide that Usopp once blew in the original work, there is an island eater. However, the real island-eating monster appeared in Little Garden. Just when Luffy and the others were about to set sail, the island eaters swallowed their ship. Dory and Brookie used the giant's ultimatum to kill the island eaters to keep Luffy and the others safe. Unexpectedly, the island eater was found in the dense fog straight near the Devil's Triangle. It can even be said that this island eater is likely to appear on the end of Little Garden in the future, but it has not yet swam to Little Garden. Hurry up. At the moment when the big mouth fell, the whole ship of the Rumba Pirates group and a large amount of seawater were poured into the body of the island eater. Watching the teeth close, the surrounding became dark and violent, floating towards the stomach of the island eater in the shaking. It's dead now. When the oil lamp was lit, a strong stench came, and the bodies of sea kings and other fish and shrimps were everywhere. Members of the Rumba Pirates and Shi-en looked around at this time. The pink fleshy wall looks very thick. The stomach space of several hundred meters is very large, and there are many sundries and corpses floating on the sea. Don't worry. Shi-en stood up at this time, observed the waterline of the boat, and then said, "This island eater is very big. If he wants to digest it, we must first drain the seawater in his stomach. At that time, it is the gastric juice. When we corrode. But before this process comes, we still have a day or so to save ourselves." Help yourself. I get it. The captain's eyes lit up and he immediately ordered, "Get all the explosives and fire at one place." Yes, Captain. I have to say that these people are extremely powerful, and they are soon filled with cannons. At this time, they focused on the flesh wall of the island eaters and opened fire. Boom 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 boom. The shell slammed into the flesh wall, but there was no fart. The flame went out as soon as it burned. Shi-en immediately stopped them. "Stop it. The island eaters that can hunt sea kings, how could it not be possible? With a little defensive power, the cannonball cannot kill it, and it will also accelerate the consumption of oxygen, making us die faster." Puff through, puff through. Hearing what Shi-en said, the others knelt down on the ground one after another, their eyes trembled slightly. At this moment, they began to pick up the notes and began to write and draw tremblingly. What happened to you guys? Shi-en looked at these strange guys. Why did they suddenly start writing diaries? Mr. Shi-en, I am very sorry to involve you and my sister. Brooke also looked sad at this time. He handed over a diary and said, "If you have any last words, please write them down together. There are not so many regrets." WDNMD. Shi-en yelled, then threw the note to the ground, and said angrily, how the hell could it be cold as soon as he went out to sea? Let lousy get out of the way, I'm here. But Mr. Xian, it is so huge. Really? Xian looked back at the others at this time, showing a creepy smile. It is very big, but this is just right, I can eat it unscrupulously. In this place where there is no shortage of food, I can eat all its flesh and blood alive, only the bones are left. With that, Xian's figure has gradually grown larger, and everything around him gradually shrouded in his shadow. Perhaps today will be your doomsday, but for me, if I just die like this, I look down on people too much. In a blink of an eye, Xian has turned into a huge black dragon, pounced on it, and the claws ruthlessly split the pink fleshy wall of the island eater, and the whole dragon was embedded in the flesh and blood. He opened his huge and distorted blood bowl and roared, "As long as this guy is eaten by me first, it will never be able to digest me." Xian at this time is as if to swallow the world, shocking, gnawing the body of the island eater crazily. Stomach piercing. Pain. Roar. No matter how violently the island eater struggled and begged for mercy, the black dragon opened its huge mouth, stuffed it with meat, chewed constantly, and then swallowed in its abdomen. Super gastric juice. The new abilities that were constantly unlocked began to accelerate their digestion. At a speed visible to the naked eye, the huge stomach of the island-eating monster was penetrated little by little, and the flesh and blood began to disintegrate and fall into the body of the black dragon. Roar-ang! The female Tyrannosaurus rexina couldn't help but rushed forward at this time, eating the meat of the island-eating monster, while the others looked at each other with surprised eyes. It just so happens that we are almost exhausted before, everyone, we have a banquet, raw fish banquet. Oh who, I have to say that this idea is very good, but only Xian can do it. First, it is impossible for other people to tear the thick fleshy tissue of the island-eating monster. If they can tear it, they will burst out directly. Secondly, no one has such a big appetite, and Xian digests while eating and transforms it into energy to enhance his strength. His size is constantly getting bigger, so he eats more and more hungry, and constantly begins to evolve. But the island eaters can only think that they are unlucky. If they don't swallow these people, they might be able to kill them directly with one tail. But the current island eaters can only drink the seawater for self-help, and then continue to kill them. Diarrhea, trying to get rid of the people of the Rumba pirates. But a pity, it underestimated the stickiness of Xian. This black dragon grew up in the flesh and blood of the island eater like a parasite. At this time, it began to make holes in the island eater like a tunnel, and walk to where to eat, continue to devour and devour. The experience value grows like crazy. It didn't take long. When the system prompt sounded, Xian slowly stopped and did not continue to eat. The current experience points are full. Do you evolve? Newly unlocked level 5 evolution, dragon form. Newly unlocked level 5 evolution, roaming dragon form. Newly unlocked level 5 evolution, flying dragon form. Different forms, including many different individuals, and will vary according to individual factors. The dragon has a pair of huge dragon wings and limbs. The physics department has the strongest hand-to-hand combat power and can use elemental power. The dragon is very long, like Kaido, but also like a Chinese dragon, possessing the ability of Logia, and can use elemental power. Flying dragons are the fastest and are true predators of the sky, but their forelimbs and wings are connected together, like flesh wings, and they can also use elemental power. Still need to say, the dragon evolves. Xian, who has a burst of damage from the physics department, chooses the other two types. It would be a waste of the talents accumulated in the early stage, so at this time the evolution of level 5 mature body chose the dragon form. Mr. Xian, your body, doesn't it matter? At this time, the human closest to the black dragon is Brook. He said with a look of astonishment and concern. In front of him, Xian's body muscle tissue began to tear like a blood-red light, and there was a lot of pink steam on the body surface. Volatilizing outwards, the water and blood in the body seemed to burn. Don't worry, it's just that the blood circulation has accelerated. It's easy to say. In fact, Xian's body cells are mutated like an accelerator. This mutation process seems too exaggerated to scare the onlookers. Roar. The sudden pain caused Xian to roar, and his body changed drastically. Based on the original Tyrannosaurus form, now it has become a huge skeletal dragon with huge horns on its head and full scales erected. It has very strong muscles, an epidermis that can easily resist any attack, and an extraordinary regeneration ability. The black dragon Xian at this time has completely become a four-legged double-winged standard spec dragon clan, but the extra sturdy body shrimp with the iconic big horns is covered with weapons-like spines. There are many dark black and dark purple patterns on the skull and torso. This kind of skin looks very manic. It can be said that Xian at this time is the most vivid display of the image of the so-called magic dragon. The new form is unlocked. The behemoth hunter, the black dragon. In addition to the developed limbs and tail, the black dragon is a giant dragon with developed wings. The black dragon horns extending from the head to both sides are extremely penetrating, which is very suitable for fighting large targets. That huge horn full of deterrence and lethality overlaps with the dense bone spurs on its body, making people shudder. Many of the huge wings on the back are folded to cover the shoulders, and can be used for rapid high-altitude sliding and collision attacks. If you learn armament hockey, you can even release armament hockey outside, which penetrates the enemy's body like spines. The image of this dragon is reminiscent of the so-called exterminating dragon. The only difference is that the black dragon looks more evil, and is very biased towards the evil dragon in people's impression. It is a greedy, violent coon. Roar. At the same time, accompanied by a strong roar, Xian, who has completed level 5 evolution, displayed even more violent anger in the midst of anger. Those huge and strong claws severely tore apart the flesh and blood of the island eaters. A lot of scorching blood splashed on Brooke's face. Xian was obviously terrified at this time. Mr. Xian, calm down. Calm, Brooke. I'm calm, no one is calmer than me. But I have to get angry to get my body into a violent state. This is a way to greatly increase my attack power. So, the more I behave the anger, the calmer the heart. But, furiously digging at the flesh and blood in front of him at an astonishing speed, the giant wings that were folded behind couldn't help but unfold completely to maintain the balance of the body. With the forefoot stepping on the wall of flesh, and with the movements like ghosts and gods, the black dragon Xian waved his wrist frantically to destroy everything. This is too scary. Brooke thinks that Xian is not as calm as he said, but out of a sense of tyranny of an impulse to destroy. However, when Xian frantically destroyed and dig the tunnel, Brooke found that there were many abnormal halos near the black dragon's back spine and the bloody glow from the torn muscles, which looked a little scary, and they were all in. Converging from the abdomen toward the vicinity of the throat. Mr. Xian. At this time, Xian also noticed the abnormality of his body. As he eats more, his body feels bloated, but that is not full, but something seems to overflow. Suddenly, he seemed to be thinking about something, no longer suppressing this urge to cough. I see, it's dragon breath. It's getting stronger and stronger. Because the accumulated abilities were too much to be able to control like a cough, when the black dragon Xian raised his head to accumulate energy, Brooke had already retreated. Gluttony and bitterness. The black dragon raised its head to accumulate energy, and then leaned over to spew black and red air waves to shoot. When the dragon's energy breath covered the body of the island eater, the flesh and blood disintegrated in an instant, and the huge black-red light beam penetrated the sky. It broke open from the spine of the island eater and reached the sky. System prompt. Successfully kill the island eater. The reward has been issued. However, due to eating too much, the remaining breath has no place to vent, so Xian began to turn his head to correct the direction, and then flung out a black-red cutting beam. At that moment, the sky and the earth flashed, and the island-eating monster was thousands of meters huge. The body shape is directly divided into two. After finishing his breath, Xian felt as if his body was hollowed out. At this time, he couldn't help feeling the terrifying destruction he had caused. Finally, it wasn't until the 5th level of evolution that I truly realized the power of the dragon egg fruit, but I don't know how powerful it will be when the fruit power is awakened in the later stage. Devil fruit is like that. Some, such as Logia, are very strong in the early stage, and invincible after eating. Some such as Paramesha rubber fruit, the more developed the stronger, but there are limits. There are also later evolutionary fruits, such as egg fruit, dragon egg fruit, etc., which have very strong evolutionary characteristics. The more developed they are, the more powerful they are, and there is almost no upper limit. Successful. 10 minutes later, the ship of the Rumba pirate group finally escaped from the body of the island eater and appeared near the dense foggy sea area at this time. But at this time, everyone looked like a monster, looking up at Xian, a black dragon with a wingspan of more than 80 meters and a height of nearly 50 meters. Now he has evolved again, of course, the smart captain and Brooke. I also realized that Xian is not a capable person of the so-called dragon fruit Tyrannosaurus form at all. But they didn't choose to ask questions, because such a strong man had nothing to do with them. They just got on the same boat just by chance. The other side, unlike the shocked Rumba pirates, the little mother Tyrannosaurus Hina has a face of skepticism. Her expression becomes very strange and suspicious, as if she is saying, "Brother, how did you grow wings?" It turns out, when you grow up with your companion, suddenly become different from yourself. Only the most familiar people know what it feels like. It's more than just joy. And more is pressure. From the new novel group 712,205,071. 111111. This group updates daily novels. From the new novel group 712205071. Woo. Hina can't speak, but she can express her thoughts spiritually. She is now very worried about whether Xian will suddenly fly away, and then don't want it. Wow. Wow. The flapping wings produced intense wind pressure and strong air currents. Under the hurricane created by the dragon wings, the surrounding waves rolled up, causing the ships of the Rumba pirates to quickly leave the dangerous area. At the same time, Xian flew down from the high air, and turned into a human form the moment he arrived at the Rumba pirates, and then landed with a bang, almost not sinking the ship. If it was in the form of a dragon, it would be tens of thousands of tons. Weight can destroy everything. What's wrong with you, my little cutie? As soon as Xian landed, she noticed Xena's slightly unfamiliar eyes, as if she realized that she was not a Tyrannosaurus at all, but a completely different species from her. This seemed to be very difficult to accept. Roar. Hearing Hina's low growl, Xian explained, "Don't worry, you can grow wings too." Quote question mark question mark question mark quote. The members of the Rumba Pirates group had a question mark at this time. They said, "How can you lie to her?" They all said that they are pure-blooded Tyrannosaurus rex. How can they grow wings? Have you heard of armament hockey being released? When you have cultivated to a certain level, hockey will fly into the sky. How handsome. Xian comforted and convinced Xena that she could grow wings someday. On the contrary, Brooke and the others were almost not scared to death. Hockey why? How is this possible? Is that something human can do? However, Hina doesn't seem to be a human. Maybe the dragon-like creatures have more hockey reserves than humans. By the way, Mr. Xian, I don't know what you plan to do in the future. Find the plague pirates and kill them all. Xian said blankly, but there was not much hatred in his heart. It was not so much revenge as it was to complete his mission. Ah, since then, do you have any ideas to break into the Grand Line? I don't know, I may go to New World, or I may find a woman to live a peaceful life. If conditions permit, I will just live my life in a bland way. Such a waste. The members of the Rumba Pirates shook their heads and sighed. They said, "Mr. Xian, you are so strong. If you are willing to take risks, you will definitely be stronger than the pirate named Rox." Rox, is he strong? I don't know, we have only heard of his name. It is said that he is an ambitious guy, powerful, and the people under his hands are desperados. Some time ago, the news said that he was recruiting partners in New World. A young pirate girl joined in, it seems to be called Charlotte Linlin. Chapter 11. Yes, that's her, Charlotte Linlin. Brooke also said the name at this time. He happened to read the news. That girl is not a good crop. It is said to be very terrible. She was almost destroyed when she was only 5 years old. Elbaf Giant Village. I know, she is very unusual. Xian nodded. As the future 4 emperors, Charlotte Linlin's age is also very fierce. Mr. Xian, if your ultimate goal is One Piece, then I suggest you cooperate with Rox. Captain Madara Biao pondered for a moment, and then rationally analyzed, as pirates, they may be more pure than us. At present, we only have Brooke with a reward of 33 million, and they, just the girl named Charlotte Linlin, already has a bounty of 500 million berry. 500 million. Xian was not shocked. On the contrary, the other members of the Rumba Pirates group were dumbfounded and took a breath. Yes, it is 500 million. I was shocked at first, but this kind of performance on that boat is very average. Captain Madara Biao continued. The crew of Edward Newgate, Golden Lion, John, Akoku, Silver Axe, they all have a bounty of 300 to 1.5 billion, and Captain Rocks has a bounty of 2.4 billion. Now they are the most powerful pirate group in the eyes of the world government. It is said that their team is about to dominate the Grand Line. That's why you suggested that I go to work with Rocks, right? Xian thought about it, and had to say that if it was really aimed at One Piece, Rocks Pirate was worthy of consideration. But even if you cooperate with Rocks, the person who eventually becomes One Piece may not be Mr. Xian. Other competitors are also very strong. And I heard that Rocks Pirate is unstable inside, like a pool of loose sand. Everyone's personality, they are all weird, and they are likely to fly separately at the critical moment. They are not really a solid pirate group. Okay, let's not talk about this. First find the Plague Pirate group, and then break through the Sea of the Devil's Triangle. Understood. Looking at these smiling pirates, what Xian didn't expect was that such a healthy and lively person would soon say nothing and disappear. The sea is far more terrifying and dangerous than the jungle. In the deep forest, you only need to be wary of poisonous insects and beasts, but in the sea you never know whether the next enemy you will face is a storm or a powerful sea monster, or if you get lost for a long time, thirst and lack of food will be a little bit tortured the body and spirit until death. Sudden hurricane, hot air column caused by submarine volcanic eruption. Even the giant sea kings that can swallow a ship in one bite, at least Xian has experienced all the above dangers. This is a genuine pirate ship, very exciting, but Hina almost vomited several times. But, regardless of the storm or whatever, it did not stump the Rumba pirates' determination to move forward. Of course, this might seem too idealistic, but those who can survive on the sea are definitely people with great perseverance and ability. All members of the Rumba pirates are from West Blue, the strongest sea in the legend, where the red-haired Shanks was born. Even the navigators are more experienced and courageous than other places, and the overall combat power of the Rumba pirates is not weak. When ordinary people encounter island eaters, they are scared to pee. In the process of being swallowed, they were crushed by their jaws, but although the people of the Rumba pirates were panicked at that time, they all stuck to their posts, went up and down Ishan, and overcame the difficulties. In terms of personal combat effectiveness, currently only the captain, Brook and a few senior officials have a bounty of more than 10 million berry. After all, this group of pirates has just entered the Grand Line from West Blue not long, and the crew's personality is calm and prefers to be lively, not like traditional pirates who burn, kill, loot and do no evil, so it is normal for the bounty to be lower. The other side, Hina lay down beside the man obediently. Everyone else was playing cats and dogs, but he, Xian, playing a Tyrannosaurus was different. Regardless of the aesthetics of humans or dragons, Hina belongs to the very beautiful kind, with smooth scales and a well-known figure. She likes to act like coquetry and cuteness. Sometimes she can be cold, sometimes even tsunere. But what really makes people think she is beautiful is those eyes. Each race may have different aesthetics, but most races have eyes. Longan is different from the eyes of other biological races, just like cat's eyes are also called gems. Dragon's eye pupils are simply the rarest. Exist as precious as a gem. Hina's jewel-like dragon pupil contains the breath of life, and its color can speak meanings that are difficult to express in words. The whole body is leaning towards crimson, and after seeing it for a long time, there is even an illusion of being able to see the flame nebula. The erect pupils are looking at the observer urgently, like a smooth mirror, reflecting their own figure. Devil fruit. Xian has been staring at Xena and has no other meaning, but is observing her characteristics. What kind of devil fruit is more suitable for eating? It is also a good choice to eat Logia and transform into an elemental dragon. For example, frozen fruit, snow fruit, look at the frost dragon. For example, Mara fruit, lava fruit, please find out about the red dragon queen. After all, it can be transformed into any form after elementalization, at the cost of losing part of the physical attack power, but considering its versatility and power, Logia's choice is relatively advanced. Paramesha is very different. Paramesha will become very strange, so I won't give an example here. What's more, if it's a relatively buggy Paramesha like time fruit, even if you don't eat it, it's good to collect it. Zone is the most complicated one, it contains many special cases of eudemons. For example, angel fruit, Hina will become an angel dragon, similar to Kana. For example, devil fruit, Hina will become a hell dragon, and also has the form of a succubus. Wow, when I think of this, Xian suddenly feels like he is playing a nurturing game. I am excited when I think about it, but I can only think about it for the time being. Because although devil fruit will more or less affect the user's personality remains unchanged. Here, consider a fitness. If the fit between devil fruit and host is full, then the speed of development is also its faster, and it's far easier to awaken devil fruit's ability than people with low fit. Not to mention, these devil fruits are hard to find. System prompt. Devil fruit illustration book has been unlocked. I really wanted what I wanted. Just when Xian was in trouble, the system sounded again, and then gave out the way to obtain devil fruit. Angel fruit, an ultra-rare animal species, originated from any Sky Island zone, randomly generated, currently no one uses it. The gray ones on the devil fruit illustration book have been eaten by no one, and the ones that are lit or written with represents the name of the user. This is so convenient. Moreover, the system constantly hints that Xian will hunt for those demon fruit powers to search for the devil fruits they want. The system clearly stated that devil fruit users will be refreshed 100% after death. E.g., Xian wants to get the lava fruit. If it has not been eaten by a Kainu, he will go directly to the volcanic lava zone to stay. This lava fruit is only a matter of time. If it is eaten by a Kainu, it will be easier. Grab a Kainu directly to the devil fruit refresh location, and then kill it. It is best to carry a basket of fruit on your body. Maybe you refresh it under your nose, so that you can successfully complete the devil fruit reincarnation. Most other devil fruits also follow this principle. For example, Xian's dragon egg fruit was found on Dinosaur Island, which shows that the birthplace of devil fruit is related to the environment. As long as you can find a place similar to hell, you can definitely find devil fruit. According to the devil fruit illustrated book as shown, both angel fruit and devil fruit belong to devil fruit with S-level rarity and no one currently uses it. The curious Xian glanced at the Paramesha devil fruit illustrated book. Shock fruit and time fruit in Paramesha are all lit up. The username of time fruit is unknown, but shock fruit has been clearly marked as Edward Newgate. At the same time, dark fruit is gray, which means that no one uses it. Among other more powerful S-level Paramesha, there are sky fruit and atmospheric fruit that have not been discovered. It can be said, the higher the rarity of devil fruit, the stronger it is theoretically, and the harder it is to find. Some devil fruits are chosen by them on their own initiative, and some devil fruits are obtained through hardships. Although luck also accounts for a part, as long as you have the patience and strength, you will always find your favorite. That devil fruit, no matter what it is, as long as it is not very special, for example, the fruit of time, it will be difficult for you to catch her when the user travels to the future. Ahahahahaha. As expected of the system, there really is a set. Xian stared at the refresh time of devil fruit's picture book. Almost every few seconds, dozens of people would be killed. Similarly, every few seconds, devil fruit would be eaten by lucky ones. Finally, the curious Xian took a look at where his devil fruit ranks. Dragon egg fruit, one of the rarest devil fruits, originated from the Dinosaur Island zone. Hundreds of 10,000 years have never been discovered before. There is the only host, Xian. Comfortable now. Everyone thinks that their abilities are unique, including Xian. But it makes sense when you think about it. After all, a place like Dinosaur Island is in a storm. It has been a place where no one would approach rashly for many years, and dinosaurs seem to be a little jealous of devil fruit. They dare not eat these messy things indiscriminately, even if they smell the smell. Avoiding sight, the dragon egg fruit was put on hold for hundreds of 10,000 years until Xian, who was hungry and fainted, took a bite and passed out. After waking up, I found myself becoming its owner. This is how devil fruit chooses people, not devil fruit. It is the kind of devil fruit that suits you. They will find ways to get close to you, attract your attention and let you eat it. Although it is a bit metaphysical, it is the same as drawing cards. The more you want it, the harder it is to get. Each person can only draw once. Krypton gold and liver equals open hanging, not counting. On the contrary, if you are destined to have a fate with that card, then a single draw is a miracle. Haina's choice of fruit is not in a hurry for the time being. Because Xian still can't get out of her body to help her find those rare devil fruits, her current focus should be on the enemies she will face next. Plague Pirates. This is an extremely despicable, cunning, and hateful pirate gang. They do all things evil, and the ability of the crew is also extremely terrible. Just like the name, several cadres of this pirate group are said to be demon fruit power, and they are all poisoned, related. All of their members are poisoned on weapons, arrows, and guns, as well as various weapons of mass destruction, such as gas bombs, venomous plague, wind of death, and so on. Their captain looks like a rat in personal form, covered with plagues, viruses and various bacteria, and his front face looks like a bat. The ability is to spread a dark green plague wind, and all the places he travels. In the dead place, no creature can escape the pain and death caused by disease. This ability is completely different from Magellan's poisonous fruit. The poisonous fruit is at least not contagious, but the plague fruit can spread and can be passed from person to person. Late at night, just when Xian and Hina were asleep, a burst of shelling suddenly sounded outside. With a bang, all the members of the Rumba pirate group were awakened and ran out one after another. What happened? Enemy attack. Zuo Man Ruo, pull the distance, we have entered the sea of hostile forces. Understood, Captain. The navigator quickly controlled the direction of the ship, and at the same time, because the shells were exhausted in the stomach of the island eater, now they had lost the means of counterattack. Where is the attacker? Xian pushed the door open at this time, bent down and walked out, looking up at the distant sky. Call out. Suddenly, the parabolic shells slammed into his face, and there was a violent explosion, terrifying the members of the Rumba pirates, but soon, when the smoke dissipated, Xian made a shot. The harmless face appeared again, but it had become more gray and black at this time. Threw up. There was a smell of gunpowder in his mouth. Xian's face was extremely gloomy, and it could be said that it became very scary. I want to kill them all. Xian roared and jumped high from the deck at this time, rushing in the direction of the pirate ship that fired. Mr. Xian, be careful as a trick to lure the enemy. Captain Madara Biao suddenly yelled. He has seen the behavior of the plague pirate group. First, make a sneak attack and try to make sure that there are no weapons of mass destruction and powerful guys on this ship. If they do, they will send troops around an outflank, and then carry out a siege. Lure the enemy, they lure me over. But they are going to die soon. Can you bear it after being bombarded with shells? Xian's already relatively manic temper was directly ignited at this time, and he tore his clothes, his body swelled and became huge in midair. Horror dragon. For these people, it must be evil. Xian roared. Suddenly Captain Madara Biao and the members of the Rumba pirate group felt that the sky and the earth were discolored, and the starry sky was covered by huge wings that obscured the sky and the sun. At this moment, in front of Xian, they really felt as small as ants. Boom! With a loud noise, the huge dragon shadow flew forward, and the air and sea stirred up wild waves at this moment. Many people were directly spewed out of blood by this huge dragon roar. Ship, Captain, something is approaching. In the camp of the pirate group, the members of the plague looked at the dark dragon shadows flying from the moon under the night sky with binoculars, and suddenly felt shock and terror. Dragon, it's a dragon. What are you kidding? How could there be a dragon on the boat of the cowards of the Rumba pirates? Before the plague captain, who looked like a rat man, came back to his senses, the terrifying air waves hit, the surging air flow from time to time gave out thunderous explosions, the sea swirled and danced in the storm, and the dragon covered the sky. The wing vibrated and flapped. The black dragon Xian, which was stopped quickly, caused a tremor of the atmosphere and the wave of a tsunami. But, boom 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 boom, the earth was suddenly startled, and as it fell suddenly, the impact force of 100,000 tons swept along with the dragon's tail, squeezing out the air, forming a huge vacuum wave. Pirate, you are too crazy, right? The black dragon stood under the moon night, and the huge wings slowly spread out, covering the sky like everything. You. The earth was trembling, and the consciousness of the captain of the plague pirate group suddenly awakened. When his eyes gathered, he was horrified to find that the dragon had already stood in front of him. Quick, attack! The pirate group of hundreds of people was awakened in fear at this time, hurriedly filled the cannonballs, picked up the weapons in their hands, and fired frantically at the black dragon. Bang, 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 bang. Go to hell, monster. Kill it. Boom. Huge explosions sounded continuously in the air, and the mud and sand were tumbling in the storm and heat waves. I saw Xian blocking his body with huge dragon wings, completely wrapped in invincible defense. Those shells and guns clanged on the ground one after another, because the scales were so strong that no one could break its defenses. Despicable reptile. An ant-like existence, dare to provoke me. Hailong became terrifying in an instant, and the crackling bone burst sounded, his whole body seemed to explode with countless air waves, and his muscles were knotted. At this time, his big wings shook and he was pulled into the sky in an instant. Deadthorn dance. Like a black rainstorm overwhelming the sky and the earth suddenly burst into black light. I saw the black dragon's body suddenly jumped from a height, and the moment it pressed the ground, it whirled and flicked its tail, destroying everything that was swept into powder. Not only that, but the hideous black thorns growing in its body, the dragon's arms swept across the ground, like cleaning the desktop garbage. All the pirates, along with the cannon and the fortress, were wiped out at this moment. In the next second, hundreds of people died instantly. The captain of the plague pirate group was frightened, and his eyes widened blankly. It seemed that he had never seen such a terrifying monster before. In the next moment, it seemed that a huge mountain of tens of thousands of tons was pressing on him. Under Xian's sharp eyebrows, a pair of terrifying dragon pupils full of murderous intent, staring at the captain of the plague pirate group. Remember me. Roar. The huge roar made the 7 orifices bleed, tearing the eardrums, and at the same time this terrifying black dragon was transformed into a human form, holding the plague captain's neck with one hand, and lifting him like a chicken. I got up. Remember the hapless businessmen and couple you attacked 5 years ago? Although their deaths are very sad, this is not exactly why I want to tear you apart. You shouldn't have appeared alive in front of me. You should live like a maggot in a dark corner. In that case, I might give up chasing you down, maybe. Who are you? You. What is the relationship between the merchant couple and you? Some suffocating plague captains desperately slapped the steel-like arms, his feet were off the ground, and he thumped desperately. At this time, his heart was full of fear, and his body emitted a strong green plague poison, and began to spread towards Xian's body. Go. System prompt. You are being eroded by the plague and a lot of bacteria. Click, click, click. Holding the fingers firmly, Captain Plague's neck also made a crackling sound of bones, and at this time the plague wind of the dark green Tarsus had begun to follow Xian's breath and entered the body. System prompt. You have been infected with the plague. At this time, Xian gradually calmed down. The name plague did not scare him, because the body temperature of the dragon race was higher than that of most animals, and in ancient times, any parasites and viruses were difficult to threaten. The life of a dinosaur, even if there is an ancient virus, and it is not something like a mere plague that can threaten him. Just as Xian fearlessly, his powerful cells directly killed all invading viruses, and also unlocked a new passive immune disease. System prompt. Do you want to keep the plague seed? You can unlock Plague Source. Plague Source. The plague corpse dragon can evolve. When attacking the enemy, the plague layer will gradually stack up. When the layer stack is the highest, the target will fall into an explosive death. Plague. Xian does not want to become an ugly monster like a corpse dragon, and he does not need to use poison to kill the prey, but will waste his choice. Although the poisonous dragon sounds terrible, if there is no chance to get close to the enemy, it will still is useless. Keep it first. Although I can't use it for the time being, it might be useful someday in the future. More power is better than nothing. He doesn't need to use poison, but he can't live without it. When I got back to my senses, Xian looked at Captain Plague. At this time, he was pinched to death by himself, his eyes were blood red because of congestion, and his brain seemed to be seriously damaged by the interruption of blood circulation. Ugly, don't harm other people when you die. After seeing the poisonous venom from Captain Plague, Xian threw him on the ground, and then raised his head to eject a terrifying black and red dragon breath, sweeping across him like a ray of life disintegration, and then appeared on the ground. The huge scorched path, together with the entire pirate camp, as the fire burned, the poisonous gas began to turn over in the black smoke, and was eventually consumed a little bit. Seeing such a scene, Xian gradually calmed down, and the blood on his body disappeared. At this time, he spread the huge wings behind him and flew back several tens of meters. That's it. Roar. A loud roar resounded all around, and a terrible coercion enveloped dozens of miles around. The huge black dragon flew to the distant sea at an astonishing speed. The ripples and mist in the air showed sonic boom clouds. In the blink of an eye, the pirate camp exploded one after another in the flames. At this point, the plague pirate group is completely wiped out. Mr. Xian, like cheering for the return of a hero, Xian, who had killed all members of the plague pirates, surrounded them with excitement one by one. This could avenge them, and they all became happy at this time. Everyone, it's a banquet. Captain Madara Biao shouted wildly. But Captain, we're out of alcohol. Then eat meat and drink water. Yoo-ho-ho-ho. Brook laughed. Stop it, don't waste food. Xian is undoubtedly the highest on board of the Rumba pirates, but now he seems to have something to say. What's wrong, Mr. Xian? The plague pirates are completely wiped out. I don't think anyone can survive that kind of offensive. Hearing this, the members of the Rumba pirate group seemed to be aware of something, and at this time they showed sad expressions. I gotta go. As they guessed, Xian no longer has the need to stay here. He said, I will take my sister Hina around the world, looking for the legendary devil fruit and treasure. Maybe if you get rich, you can buy an island-sized villa, and then set up your own door and raise dinosaurs. Maybe we will continue to be a pirate, find the legendary treasure, and complete the voyage around the world. Maybe, I will look for some as a crew member of the ancient species of demon fruit power, such as barbarians, Giganotosaurus, Carcharodon, and Tyrannosaurus, and then gather the 4 strongest carnivorous teams to become the Emperor of the Sea. It sounds very far away, but if it is Mr. Xian, I believe you will be successful, no matter what lifestyle you choose. Thank you, Brook, Xian said half-jokingly, I hope you can live a good life. Don't wait until the next time you meet, you will all become skeletons. Haha, it's naturally impossible. To become a skeleton, Brook is the only one. It's funny to say that this guy said he had eaten devil fruit, but he hasn't shown any ability yet. I doubt whether he eats or not. Fake devil fruit, ha 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 ha. As Captain Madara Biao said, the others burst into laughter, and even Brook lamented that he might have eaten fakes. Don't worry, any devil fruit has its meaning and value. Brook's devil fruit may only be triggered after death. Mr. Xian, stop joking, or I might really want to die. Laughing hard at me, Brook. As influenced by Xian's personal charm, these people turned their sadness into a smile during the parting period, and no longer felt sad. But Xian just smiled and didn't continue to say anything. Because he knows, the Rumba pirates, in the original work, was annihilated by other pirates in the Devil's Triangle 50 years ago. This seems to be destined, and it is destined to awaken Brook's fruiting ability, but what Xian can do is to help them get rid of the threat of the plague pirate group, and solve their personal grievances by the way. As for what the Rumba pirates will become in the future, that is not what he cares about. Come on, guys, when we say goodbye to Mr. Xian and Miss Hina, let's have a long-lost chorus. Okay, these hospitable pirates are more like musicians. Xian once asked them why they must be pirates. Some people may say it is for freedom and adventure, but their answer is, for life. Brook walked slowly to the piano and sat down. Captain Madara Biao picked up the cello, and the others played music. Solo, duet, trio, quartet, cantata, an unparalleled pirate concert is here. When we meet next time, it will be a story 50 years later. At that time, Brook was still sitting elegantly at the piano and played the song, Bink's Wine. Only, at that time, he claimed to be the king of souls. But tears flowed from the empty bones in the eyes, and flowed down the bones into the piano. Brook smiled on his back, looked at the familiar tall figure in front of him, and said a sentence that made people cry, "Long time no, Mr. Xian." Parting is painful. The short time together also gave Hina a special feeling for the so-called pirate life. At first, she was very afraid of the unfathomable sea, as if there were many cannibal monsters underneath, which was a kind of for sea kings. Kind of instinctive fear. But now that he left the pirate ship, he was a little uncomfortable. About why Hina is afraid of sea kings. In fact, to put it plainly, sea kings are also one of the ancient races. They evolved from the same ancestor as the dinosaurs. There is no bloodline suppression. After all, it is normal for terrestrial creatures to fear marine creatures in the sea. Who is afraid of who is not necessarily. Facing the king of the 5-kilometer level sea kings, the behemoth family is not completely without the power of a battle. Like the Lord, the Boeing Islands, the behemoths of the islands, the giants of the dense fog strait, etc., they are all representative giants of terrestrial creatures. The beasts, which feed on sea kings, are more than thousands of meters in size, and some are even tens of thousands of meters. They are the representatives of true overlord legendary creatures and the spokesperson of the world's largest creatures. Hina is mainly too young, so she is afraid of those huge monsters. When she truly grows into a dragon queen, she will realize how timid she was in the past. After all, in this world, innate advantage is part of the ability, but more depends on acquired hard work and growth. This is the meaning of the word evolution. The next day, after leaving the Rumba pirates, Xian, the dragon brother and sister, landed on an island outside the Devil's Triangle. There are deserts and cacti, and the climate is hot and dry. It is a bit like the Western Canyon area where Tyrannosaurus rex lives. It is the desert climate that Xena is more familiar with. Don't complain, Hina. The purpose of the Rumba pirates is different from ours, and the difference is inevitable. It seems that Hina likes to eat meat with the pirates, and occasionally tastes the taste of wine. Now the sudden parting also makes her feel a little sad, and she has not paid attention to Xian. But, at this time, after bringing a Tyrannosaurus to the town, Xian can be considered famous, because everyone saw him and Hina were scared away, no store dared to open for business at all, and even some marines in the distance were awkward. Shaking and hiding in the base, he didn't dare to come out. Roar. Hina, who saw many strangers, obviously showed a nervous hostility, and at the same time was very curious about the surrounding buildings. In Hina's perspective, everything in the outside world is unfamiliar. Rumble. The next second, after Hina knocked down a house, she seemed to be taken aback, and hurriedly turned back to look at Xian, saying that it was not her fault, but that the thing was too fragile. Fear. Dinosaurs. The screaming house owner, who was still squatting in the pit at home, suddenly saw the house collapsed, and then a huge dragon pupil was staring at him, and suddenly ran outside without lifting his pants. The young village girl, who screamed distortedly because of fear, dropped the milk jar she was holding on the ground at this time, and ran home without looking back. The other side. Many similar things happened. Everyone was scared and screaming. Only a few people didn't scream, but they looked nervously to this side. These people were either bounty hunters, mercenaries or pirates, but they were afraid of them. It's not really Hina the Tyrannosaurus rex, but Xian who exudes invisible hockey from time to time. Because this Tyrannosaurus rex was brought by him, and it looks very docile, this is enough to explain the truth, that is, this man is far more terrifying than Tyrannosaurus. This simple truth can be judged by individuals. That's why they are afraid and dare not approach here. Unless someone is desperate, or someone who has confidence in their own strength, they will take the initiative to strike up a conversation. Okay Hina, come back, they are all afraid of you. Xian waved his hand and scanned the environment of the town at this time. It was like Haishui Town and Armadillo Town in the Western film. Many people were dressed in cowboy style, with a revolver hanging around their waist. It is a place with sturdy folk customs. But no matter what, the sturdy folk customs does not mean that these people will not be afraid of the unknown. Suddenly a person leading the Tyrannosaurus into the village, and strong like a giant dragon, who is not afraid. However, Xian's height can be controlled. The 9-meter-8 size is very compressive, but it can be reduced to about 2 meters. But why Xian still likes to move with a taller head, mainly because it shortens the vision gap between human form and dragon form, because the change of body shape will cause misjudgment in battle. In order to adapt to this poor range, Xian usually will appears in the eyes of everyone as a young, strong, and tall macho. If necessary, it can be reduced to a handsome man of about 2 meters, but only when picking up girls. Roar. In the tavern, the door was knocked open and the roof of the house was torn open. A Tyrannosaurus and a tall man were sitting inside. The store manager was trembling in fright, and asked in horror, "This lord, what do you want?" "Give my sister something to eat. I want the best meat from you here, otherwise I will kill your horse and roast it." I want some drinks, if not, I will change to wine, although wine and water are the same. Understood. Let's do it. The store manager hurried to the back kitchen, but suddenly, Xian called him. Don't worry about the money, I will make up for all your losses here, but if you run away, there will be nothing. Clear. The store manager's heart was tight, and after thinking about it, the stranger was right. On this island with a desert climate, where he can go, it is better to meet Xian's requirements and then make a lot of money. Please, let us go. We really don't have food and water. At this time, the noise outside attracted Xian's attention. The manager who ran out robbed a house on the street in order to get him water and food. Came in with a smile while holding the water. My lord, your water is here. Xian looked at the half-pot of water swaying in front of him, and seemed to suddenly realize that water is money in the desert, because people here drink ordinary cactus juice. Those who can really afford water and wine, also there are only outsiders. Xian frowned slightly and looked at a middle-aged man in the mud outside the house. He has gray hair and long black hair tied into a ponytail. A bangs hang down from his left temple. At this time, his body is muddy and looks very different. Embarrassed. But, this guy is a Shinso hand. Xian noticed the revolver around his waist and the left hand holding his right hand at that moment. He was forbearing, trying to control himself so as not to cause trouble. It was this scene that caught Xian's attention. He thought it was just a looted hapless person, but now it seems that he is trying to protect some people who are unwilling to shoot, even if he is hit in the shoulder. Who is that hapless guy? The store manager looked at the man outside, frowned, and said angrily, Bill. This is not a place where you can come. Didn't you see that I was receiving big guests? Bill Beckman, this is the name of the man. It is said to be a gold prospector from North Blue. He was hunted down for not knowing what he committed. Later he met a woman and got married. Now his wife is pregnant. Just come to our town to hide for a while. I didn't expect this fool to dare to follow, didn't he just grab some water? At this moment, the man's facial features were twisted together because of pain. He looked to this side very eagerly, standing at the door with a little fear. Xian and Tyrannosaurus rexina did not dare to come in. The name Beckman is a bit familiar. Xian tried hard to recall the memory, and gradually overlapped with a person's figure. I see. The man in front of him should be the father of Ben Beckman, the second in command and deputy captain of the future 4 Emperor's Red Hair Pirates. Even the facial lines and hairstyles on their 2 faces are exactly the same, and they are also from North Blue. After all, if Shanks, who is cheerful and happy and likes banquets, is compared to the sun, Beckman, who speaks little but does not lose his majesty, is the moon. It was this man who showed the pirates' horror and original appearance to the enemy. He has accumulated experience in a long sailing career, a clear thinking brain and extremely high combat effectiveness. As a character whose strength can be compared with the red hair, even the strong of New World will tremble when they see him. In the future, Ben Beckman is the deputy captain of Red Hair Pirates of Kunpro New World, but now, he is nothing, even in his mother's belly. Give him the water. I don't want to be infamy for bullying the man who raises the family, even if I can completely slaughter your town and find water by myself. Yes. Where did the store manager dare to say anything more? The grandfather did what he wanted to do. At this time, he hurriedly handed the Beckman the kettle, and signaled that he didn't hurry to thank the adult. Thank you for your gift, thank you for your gift. Beckman squatted his head quickly, and then left with water in his tears in gratitude. As a Shinso player, Xian believes that he has the power to kill the store manager and most of the villains, but he did not do so because he is not alone now, but has a pregnant wife who needs him. If something really happens, perhaps this family will be ruthlessly obliterated in the long river of history. Humble. No, this is what a real man should do, even if his dignity is abandoned. But, there is a price to be paid for doing good deeds. Do evil too. Without water to drink, Xian looked aside and drank it with cactus juice. Although the taste was not good, the nutritional value was still there. After all, his more purpose is to keep Hina full, because as a meat eater, Hina needs to eat a lot of food every day to maintain nutrition. After all, she is still in the age of growing body. Hey, store manager, what do you have here? My lord, what do you mean? Money. Xian stated his purpose. He said, The money you grab is divided into you to make up for the loss. You just need to tell me who has the most money here. I am half a pirate, and the robbery is mine. Professional content. That's it. My lord, there are two major forces in this town facing off. Usually, someone must come out and curse at this point. But since you are here, they naturally dare not presume. Go on. The two big forces, one group is Marine, they work for the world government, under the command of Marine Marshal Ji Yukong. The other group is the gang family forces that have existed in the town since ancient times, and the water source for their master is here. Master. It is said that the gold in their warehouse was robbed from a kingdom. It is the heavenly gold that was once to be handed over to celestial dragons, worth 10 billion berry. So, the purpose of Marine's stationing here is also to recover that part of the lost heavenly gold, right? My lord is really smart. Although Marine intends to chase revolving heaven for gold, it's a pity that the family forces here are fighting fiercely. The two have been fighting for nearly 10 years, and there is no news yet. 10 years, Xian sneered and asked. Isn't Celestial Dragons planning to continue to collect this money? The world government won't be able to win a small town. You don't know, the store manager said quietly at this time. For the world government, the money that cannot be recovered is far greater than the income that can be recovered. Because this island does not belong to any world government to join. It is a zone managed by the country, and there is a unique geographical advantage here, that is, 4 of the 7 Grand Line roads will pass here. And the world government wants to control this route, then naturally they have to find a reason to be justified. Occupying this area, they deliberately created contradictions, and the local law enforcement officers were unable to fight the culprits and could only ask Marine for help. It's interesting. Xian thinks this story is very good, but, because of this, Marine is not willing to eliminate the gang party. Of course, not only that. The store manager shook his head and said meaningfully, for the world government, if one gang is missing, then there will be a second gang. And the process of selecting a new gang boss will be very chaotic. A boss, to maintain order, and second, continue to pressure the boss to do less bad things and reduce harm to the world government. The essence of gangs is that when the rights of the world government cannot sink to the grassroots, the vacuum of the bottom rights will naturally leading to the birth of gangs, and on the premise that this problem cannot be solved, killing a mature gang boss will only lead to the appearance of other immature gang bosses. To put it bluntly, this is the ghost of the world government, black and white. They are all their forces, and human rights at the bottom do not exist at all. Even this small town has become impoverished. That's why you robbed that man. This is something that can't be helped. The store manager smiled brightly, indicating that this is the daily life of the small town, no wonder. Understood. Xian laughed and said deeply, snatching the gangs here is equivalent to killing the people and offending the world government. So many people know it but dare not do anything. The action is wonderful, thank them for keeping so much money for me. Ah, my lord, don't you really want to? Does that still need to be said? Lead the way, remember to bring a sack to hold the gold. Good. The store manager turned around and took out a whole row of muskets from the box behind. A large number of bullets and explosives were placed neatly. At this time, he excitedly said, when shall we act? Click, click. All the guns were loaded with bullets. The shop manager smiled slightly at this time, showing a big yellow tooth. Are you serious? Xian was stunned by this scene. Are you the barkeeper? Obviously you are the real robber. What if I reveal my identity? Ha ha. The store manager pointed to his head and said, my lord, I am not stupid. Of course I know the consequences of doing this, but I have been fed up with the system here. Go to North Blue and find a wife to live incognito. Okay, I have thought about the future. Have you wanted to do this a long time ago, just waiting for an opportunity? You used to be a treasure hunter, right? Xian deeply doubted the identity of the store manager at this time, but the other party smiled and did not answer, which shows that he guessed correctly. But anyway, the information provided by the store manager can be considered. After all, that is 10 billion berry, enough for himself and Hina to spend a while. Cactus Town, near the bank. Papa, Papa, the sound of spur boots stepping on the ground sounded, and the two of them appeared next to the station with a Tyrannosaurus Rex. At this time, the style of painting suddenly changed. Xian was wearing a cowboy hat, wearing a trench coat, and holding a half-person height shotgun in his hand. He clicked on the gun and strode forward. Following behind him, Hina, who also wears a huge cowboy hat, carries a make-the-hand machine gun on her back, and is fully armed with a weapon like Gatling. It looks terrifying. Finally, the manager of the tavern turned into a robber in the west. He was now masked, carrying a long spear behind him, and walking forward with 2 spears in his hand. Robbery. Everyone is not allowed to move, not to notify Marine. Xian kicked open the door of the bank. At this time, he held a double-barrel shotgun at the manager of the bank, and shouted in a low voice, "Move a little bit, open the safe." "Yes, yes, don't kill me, don't kill me." The bank manager was terrified at this time, and walked to the bank warehouse shiveringly. Xian stared at him so hard that people did not dare to act rashly. Certainly, Xian and the store manager did not come to rob the bank. The bank here is robbed several times a year, and there is no money in it. Moreover, Xian can break the lock directly and open the safe forcibly to get the money. No manager is required. Unlock the lock so slowly. Their purpose is to attract the attention of local gangs. As predicted, when the robbery between Xian and the store manager was discovered by witnesses, a young and thin boy ran in one direction non-stop, as if to inform someone. After a few minutes, Xian watched the bank manager open the safe, and then took out a wad of coins, about 1 million berry, which is really pitiful. Hey. The store manager picked up the sack to load money at this time, but Xian didn't move. Instead, her ears moved slightly and heard the subtle footsteps outside the room. Coming, Xian pressed the shoulders of the store manager and gestured to him. Suddenly the store manager stopped taking money and nodded nervously. "Open the door, Hina." Accompanied by a huge roar, the tyrannical body of the Tyrannosaurus smashed the door of the bank together with the wall. At this moment, the enemy ambushing near the corner was crushed and collapsed. At this moment, Xian strode out. When she came to Hina's face, she leapt forward and sat on her back. "Kill them all." The shotgun made a terrifying roar. Every time the fire broke out, half of a gangster's body was blown up. At this time, Xian, who had transformed from a western cowboy to a Tyrannosaurus knight, swept the audience like a desert warrior. "What the hell is this monster?" The gang leader's cigar fell on the ground at this time. The whole person looked silly. He brought 20 people to wipe out the guy who was brave enough to rob the bank in the town under their jurisdiction, but he didn't expect to suddenly get out of the bank. A Tyrannosaurus Rex and a strong man with a shotgun fired everywhere. Aha, Tyrannosaurus Knight, is there anything more exciting than this? Xian loaded the shotgun with bullets at this time, and said to the bandit desperately running away, "Go away, go back. Tell you boss, this is Lousy's sight. If you don't accept it, tomorrow noon, let he came to a duel with me." Ha ha. The robber shopkeeper also mounted the horse at this time and laughed in the distance, but it was not that he dared to approach, but that the horse felt the dragon's blood pressure suppressed and refused to step forward. "Go away, the weak." Xian held the shotgun up to the sky and fired. With the sound of the gun, the gangs crawled and fled here, as if announcing that the town had completely fallen. But it was also the beginning of this event that Xian's reward order was shown in front of everyone for the first time. Of course, Hina, a Tyrannosaurus Rex, was also included and regarded as Xian's mount. Offer a reward together. It's so cool, Mr. Xian, it's been a long time since I did such an exciting thing. The manager of the robber got off his horse at this time, walked over alone, looked up at Xian, who was riding a Tyrannosaurus high above. This time the family power has been deflated, and it will definitely find a place again. I'm afraid there will be a game tomorrow. It's a fierce battle. Compared to us, you should worry about yourself and be careful of getting your head headshot by a sniper. Xian calmly looked at the streets of the town where the wind and dust were blowing, and said in a deep voice, "I will leave this place when I take away the 10 billion berry tomorrow. As for you, if you are accidentally caught, don't expect me to save you." Mr. Xian, well, I see. The robber shop manager originally wanted to play the emotional card, but found that Xian didn't catch him at all, so he immediately took back the pitiful look, saying that he would try to escape. However, after many years, Xian really heard the news of the robber store manager again. I don't know if this is considered an Easter egg. After all, Xian found him on the list of prisoners detained in a large prison. According to the prison number, he was able to find a skeleton wearing a bracelet and handcuffs. There was a yellowed note beside him. A diary contains the name of Xian, and fully tells the process of this Cactus Town robbery. It seems that the robber shop manager will not have a good life in the future. He is an old hapless guy. The next day, at noon, when the sun was scorching, a big event happened in Cactus Town. There were people coming and going on the street, and more than 200 gangs completely surrounded the town. What surprised Xian was that the group actually came for revenge, but this time, they brought a master. Mr. Xian, the situation is not good. Suddenly, the manager of the tavern ran over in horror, sweating profusely, and there seemed to be some urgent news. He drank a sip of cactus juice to moisturize his throat, and then said, They are here. Death Revolver Randy, the pirate who offered a 150 million berry bounty. Oh, Xian's eyes condensed. No wonder the group of people dared to come back. It turned out to be a rescuer. What do we do? Do you want to avoid the edge? The store manager asked anxiously. Retreat. Why do you want to retreat? I made the challenge. Now that I am running away, I am embarrassed and lost to the Grand Line. With that, Xian put on the belt of the revolver, picked up the cowboy hat on the side and buckled it on his head, preparing to go out. Hina, you are waiting here. Hina, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, who was lying on his stomach in the house, just thought of getting up. She was stopped by Xian. He said, Brother, I will be back right away. If you follow the target, it will be too big. Roar. Although Hina was dissatisfied, she was still obedient and continued to sleep with her head buried. Manager, are you going? Xian turned his eyes slightly at this time, looking at this timid fellow. Me. The store manager waved his hand quickly and said, I'll forget it, Mr. Xian, you have to be very careful. That Death Revolver Randy, but a famous quick shooter. No one beats him. The gun speed is faster. Know it. Xian yawned, and then made full preparations, pushed open the door of the tavern, and walked out. Kaka. As soon as he left the house, dozens of shotguns were suddenly raised and aimed at Xian's head. Then a tall and thin man walked in the crowd, his eyes sharper than eagle eyes, and he signaled his subordinates to put down their weapons. Are you the one who is going to challenge me? The tall and thin man looked up and down Xian with sharp eyes, as if he could feel a lot of deterrence and oppression. He didn't dare to underestimate him. Are you a newcomer pirate who came to Grand Line for the first time? I haven't heard of it. Your name. However, if you dare to come here to find the fault, I would advise you to die of your heart. Let's go now, and we will not blame it. Hear the words. Xian smiled and took a step forward. The tall body, shrinked to a meter at this time, looked down at the sharp-eyed man, 2.7 meters shorter than him, and then under the gaze of the opponent, he took the cigar in his mouth. He squeezed it off, and then stuffed it into the opponent's mouth with the lighted end. Bah! The tall and thin man's eyelids jumped wildly. At this time, he endured the terrifying killing intent and stared at Xian. Asshole! You asked for it. According to your rules, are you playing this? Xian drew the revolver from his waist, turned it around in his hand, and asked. Ha, kid, I'll shoot you into a hornet's nest later. As the so-called insiders look at outsiders, when the tall and thin man discovered that Xian could not play guns at all, he suddenly sneered. The man in front of him was dead. Ha ha. Xian smiled without saying a word, and followed him to the duel in the desert clearing. At this time, the surrounding gang members surrounded the area. Everyone was fierce and glaring at this side. The ordinary residents hid in the house and did not dare to come out, and some peeped through the window to watch the duel outside. Even Ben Beckman's father heard about the duel. It stands to reason that he will go out to watch, but now his wife is about to give birth. It happened to happen at this time, making him anxious, but you can't go out and ask for help. After all, who would dare to go out at this time? At this time, in the duel arena, the wind was howling and the sand was rolling. The two men stood facing each other under the blazing sun, stepping back step by step, gradually opening a safe distance, and then froze in place. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. I don't know how long has passed, and no one moved. This kind of duel tests an extremely powerful psychological quality. Whoever can't help but shoots first, whoever reveals the flaws may be killed. On the other side, the man named Randy has been staring sharply at Xian's expression and his hands, as if looking for the man's flaws, but Xian's expression has not changed, and his hands have not moved. You can say he has no psychological pressure at all, and even treats this as a game. Suddenly, Randy's eyes narrowed slightly, feeling that he was underestimated, so his hand began to slowly approach the position of the revolver. On the other side, Xian also raised his head and drew his gun at Randy. In an instant, he also drew his gun. Boom! The two gunshots sounded almost at the same time, with tearing sound effects in the air, and then both of them froze in place, looking at each other with shocked expressions. Quote ? Randy and Xian both had such surprised expressions. At this time, of the two bullets, one was hidden by Randy's head slightly, and the other was directly bitten in the teeth by Xian, and he was vomited at this time. Came out. What's the situation? Xian was a little surprised. Although the opponent's offensive was extremely fast, his amazing nerve reflex could still catch the bullet's trajectory. But this doesn't mean that he can escape by attacking the other party. How did he do it? And many more. Xian suddenly realized something, squinted, and said every word, observation hockey. You even know this ability. Death Revolver. Randy looked at Xian unexpectedly at this time, and said sharply, it seems that you are not an ordinary pirate. Since you have heard of observation hockey, then you should know that you will definitely lose. Do you think that if you can cheat, I can't? Observation hockey is absolutely the same ability as a plug-in in this kind of duel. But Xian's super reaction speed was not bad either. At this time, the two picked up the revolver again and began to shoot at each other. Then, the bullets fell down, and they were evaded or intercepted. The crowds and gangs watching nearby were dumbfounded in this scene. Is this the thing done by humans? Dodging bullets to hide from bullets, biting bullets to bite bullets, are not things that humans can do. You are demon fruit power. Death Revolver. Randy roared as he ran, and the pressure in his heart began to increase. His drawing speed is 0.02 seconds, and he quickly empties the bullets, and the reloading speed is less than half a second. But compared to observation hockey and Randy, who has accumulated proficiency all year round, Xian just relies on superhuman reaction speed and muscle memory to intercept all attacks airtightly. So fast. Xian moved and shot while running, and at this time they started shooting each other frantically. However, at this moment, Xian seemed to be electrocuted, and his body stiffened. He gradually raised his head and found a bullet with air trails flashing past his eyes. If it weren't for dazzling, he just seemed. The trajectory of the bullet can be predicted in advance. This is observation hockey. It was such a shocking process that caused Xian to stop running. Suddenly Randy's bullet hit Xian's head. As a result, the bullet broke by itself, and Xian remained motionless. Weird monster. Randy's eyes widened in horror. If he didn't see it wrong, his bullet actually hit the opponent's head, but the scalp was not damaged. Is this the defensive strength that humans can have? Feel sorry. Xian looked at his hands in surprise at this time, because in the process of shooting with Randy, he finally unlocked the use of observation hockey, that is, constantly focusing his attention to avoid quick attacks. To be honest, just fighting with the strong will continue to deepen the growth rate of observation hockey, so when Xian unlocks observation hockey, don't mention how happy it is at this time. And Xian's observation hockey seems to be different from ordinary observation hockey. Because he can see the speed of the bullet, just like bullet time, everything around him slows down in his eyes, and he has enough time to think about the way to fight. That is to say, you are dead. Xian grinned. Now that he also has observation hockey, the duel is fair. Just kidding. Go to hell. Randy roared. It seemed that the accumulated psychological pressure caused him to have emotional problems, and at this time he couldn't help shooting in advance. But this is the moment. Xian can clearly see that his movements have been slowed down. In the state of observation hockey, he can pull the gun at an astonishing speed, aiming at Randy's head and fired 6 shots bang 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 bang. The time flow rate returns to normal. When everyone came back to their senses, Randy suddenly knelt down, then squatted on the ground, his head already in the shape of a hornet's nest. Perfect curtain call. Xian breathed into the muzzle, then turned to look at the 200 gangsters onlookers. At this moment, they looked at each other and drew back in horror. Randy is dead. Randy of Death Revolver is dead. He is a monster. The strongest of this group of bandits was headshot. At this time, when this group of people saw Xian's dark golden eyes, they felt tremendous pressure. Hey, who is your leader? Let him get out and negotiate with me. In an instant, the whole gang hesitated, until they saw Xian walking step by step. They pushed out the leader who was about to run halfway, and watched Xian's tall figure walking in fear. In front of him. You are their boss. Looking at a man in formal wear with white temples, Xian shook his head slightly and said, my purpose is very simple, maybe you have already guessed it. Where is the money? Maybe you told me, I can consider letting you all live. Maybe you can reject me. Then I will kill you all. When talking about the latter, Xian's voice suddenly changed, becoming distorted and hideous like a monster, mixed with the roar of the dragon, as if it became huge in an instant, and the image of a black dragon appeared loomingly in the eyes of the gang boss. This is Long Wei. In an instant, the expression of the gang boss became extremely frightened, and he didn't dare to hide anything anymore, and he did all the tricks. Sneer ha 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 ha. Seeing the fearful gestures of these hundreds of gangs, Xian at this time seemed to swallow the world, making a frightening laughter. He laughed wildly, confident and arrogant. So far, the Cactus Town robbery ended. 7 days later, a new reward order appeared on the Grand Line. Dragon Xian, bounty, 98 million berry. Record, 6 headshots killed Revolver Randy. A pirate offering a reward of $100 million caused heavy losses in Cactus Town, and robbed 10 billion berry. Since the demise of the plague pirates was too sudden, no one went out to confess, and no one knew that Xian killed the man, so it was not counted in the record. New World Intelligence. On March 14, 1474, Charlotte Linlin gave birth to her first child, named Charlotte Perispero, suspected to be the child of Long Bread. And the other side, the remnants of the plague pirates, the guys who went out to perform their missions. When they returned, they found that the pirate camp was destroyed. Angrily, they dug 3 feet in the ground, found abandoned wine barrels in the nearby waters, and targeted them on the body of the Rumba pirates. In order to get revenge, they also drove into the Devil's Triangle. Speaking of the Devil's Triangle, it's almost 6 months to wait until Gecko Moria is born. But before that, the Devil's Triangle has not always been a land of no owner. There is a place called the Dense Mist Strait in the Devil's Triangle, which is inhabited by a super ship that is more than 10 times larger than Gecko Moria's future island-like ship. Monsters, these guys are called legendary creatures by Xian, and they are currently unprovoking existences. At the same time, after the heist in Cactus Town, Ben Beckman was born. For the sake of his family, his father left Cactus Town with his wife and children and returned to North Blue. Also in a small village in North Blue, Sakazuki Akainu in his childhood wrote the word justice on his hat because he admired marine, and began to wear a red shirt with his arms wide open, showing strong muscles and eyes sharp, and has started to fight with short sword, becoming a famous little bully in the village. Back to the perspective of Xian. Leaving Cactus Town, 10 days later, he and Hina appeared in a restaurant in an island town. The next thing they were going to was Sabayati Archipelago, and then they had to find a way to bypass the Red Line and head to New World. But before heading to New World, they must be sufficiently prepared. If the first half of the Grand Line is called the Paradise of the Pirates, then the second half of the journey is Hell. What is the admission ticket for New World? A senior record pointer, an excellent navigator, a good ship that can withstand the storm, and a strong crew. It is best to know hockey's control. In other words, starting from New World, the overall strength of pirates is no longer as weak as Grand Line, but each is strong. Everyone is an excellent member out of a million, so Xian also plans to consider forming itself of the fleet. Thus, the Xian pirate group was formally established. But this pirate group does not have its own ship or team members, only a Tyrannosaurus named Xena, and a large box full of 10 billion berry. So, Xian decided to make enough supplies before considering the second half of the journey into the Grand Line. Moreover, he was not in a hurry, because it was too early for the birth of One Piece. Big Stomach King, the skill effect has been triggered. Super Gastric Juice, the skill effect has been triggered. Gluttony, the skill effect has been triggered. In the restaurant, in the Big Stomach Challenge, Xian has already defeated several huge and obese men in succession. At this time, one bite of a beef multi-layered big burger, crazy eating, crazy digestion, the owner of the restaurant is dumbfounded. NS. Come on, don't lose to him. The boss looked for several trusts, and no one could beat this guy. On the other hand, Hina, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, crouched aside and looked at this side, because she is not a human, so she is forbidden to compete. After all, everyone thinks that Tyrannosaurus has a huge appetite, and it must be more edible than humans. But unfortunately they only noticed that Hina is a dragon, but ignored the nature of Xian, who is wearing human skin. His stomach is a bottomless pit, and he can eat the boss to go bankrupt. Finally, during the 10-game winning streak, the boss fainted overwhelmedly, and the store was temporarily closed for business and declared bankruptcy. It's gone. Seeing how the restaurant owner couldn't play, Xian waved his hand in disappointment, stood up and prepared to leave here. However, when he left, he carried the restaurant's bonus box directly on his shoulders, which simply didn't leave anyone alive. But don't worry, this island is called Food Island. It is also the most suitable island for girls, and it has all the food and beauty. In the original book, here is the special extravaganza theatrical version. The Straw Hat links the 7 Dragon Balls Goku and the captive of the gourmet food. The world's largest food party was also held here. The winner's prize is a rare delicacy carrot sucks beef. It is said that this cow specializes in high-end ingredients and grew up with diamonds in its bones. Certainly, there must be no such characters in this era, and Xian came here because the Legendary Creatures book of the system map marked this place with a legendary monster food material distributed here, and its name is. The Big Stomach King Naked Fish looks a bit like a crying pupa in 3 eyes. The upper body of the fish and the lower body of the octopus have sharp teeth, and the size is comparable to that of the sea kings. As a legendary creature, it also has quite a heaven-defying ability. It is said to have an endless appetite that can eat all the food in the world. In the original work, it resists Wukong's Super 3 states of Turtle Qigong, Luffy 3rd Gear Armed Color Elephant Machine Gun. He died with 36 bursts of nail punches, and his strength is not unforgiving. As for the story of eating goods, it must be very boring. Xian is not interested in these. Apart from hunting for the food here, he also looks for rare creatures by the way, replenishes the inventory, and then uses the diamond scales of the monster here to build an extremely sturdy boat. The big ship, the kind that can smash the reefs, driving such a ship is definitely hockey. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.